The only other thing that would be better than that is if you lifted up your shirt and you showed the 3 scars
Yeah.
from the 3 7.62 by 39 shots you took, and you were like, and you had GoPro footage of you being like, "Oh shit, I got stung by a bee," and then, that was the only thing I can think of.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the progress things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jessica Sam.
And I'm full of the Pop-Tart.
What kind?
I just scarfed down a s'more.
Bro.
That's been my go-to lately. The cinnamon, brown sugar cinnamon has always been like my favorite. But
Yeah.
the s'more for some reason is.
The s'mores are so good. S'mores are so good. Normally, I'm like more of like a fruity kind of guy, like blueberry or something. But dude, in high school, I took a packet of s'mores Pop-Tarts to school almost like every single day, like throughout all high school. So dude, s'mores.
Oh my god! Did you ever have we had the Star Crunch cookies?
Yeah.
In our cafeteria, dude. Oh my god! There was never a better meal in my entire life than Wednesday chicken parm day.
Chicken parm at school?
Yeah, my like girlfriend in like 4th grade, her mom was the lunch lady, and she'd always hook us up. She'd always hook me and a couple of my friends up with an extra sandwich. We get 2 chicken parm sandwiches.
What?
We had to pay for the Star Crunches, but dude, those are so good. The little, for anybody who doesn't know, they're like round, these circular cookies that are basically like Rice Krispie.
Yeah.
Rice Krispies, covered in chocolate but with caramel stuck. Oh, it's so good.
Star Crunch are so good, dude. Chicken parm sandwiches, bro. I remember I went to a few different schools throughout high school, but the one I went through the most was I remember pizza day. I remember getting a piece of pizza and then picking up the crust, and it just separated because it was just still dough. There was just it hadn't cooked all the way, and I was like, all right. And so I just ate Cheez-Its Cheez-Its and Pop-Tarts most of that year for lunch.
Yeah, I never brought lunch ever.
Yeah.
I suppose that's you're probably a fortunate kid, first world problem if you always eat lunch, right?
Yeah, probably. It was Cheez-Its, Pop-Tarts, and hot fries. You ever have hot fries?
Yeah. I wasn't huge on hot fries, but I mean, I'll put some hot fries.
Yeah.
But not if there was just regular fries, I'd probably take the regular fries.
Yeah, I guess.
Although at Five Guys now, I've been converted.
The Cajun fries are the way,
for sure. Getting the Cajun fries, yeah.
For sure. The Cajun fries are absolutely the way.
Oh, man. Now I'm hungry. And my wife was like, I'm going out to get food. I'm like, are you going to be home before 6:30? And she's like, no. I'm like, well, then I guess I'll eat a Pop-Tart and have dinner afterwards.
Nice.
So what you been up to, homeboy?
Not a whole lot. Yeah. I'm getting ready to start my very first subathon ever tomorrow.
Oh, tell me how it goes. I've never done it. I've never done one.
Yep. So we got
never even thought about doing one.
The mattress, yeah. I never thought I would either, but we're kind of doing like a final push. We're trying to buy a house later this year, and we've got kind of we're pretty much set up to do it. But I'm kind of we had the summer we're gonna really seriously start looking in go mode, kind of July, August, and so I was I have some time, and I was what if I why not just grind for 2-3 weeks or whatever, and try and just give us some extra wiggle room, you know what I mean? So
what does what does that consist of? I know because different people do subathons differently. Are you gonna have it's gonna be 24-hour stream kind of thing, or
I'm just gonna go live until the clock goes to zero. I've got a mattress. I'm gonna sleep in my office, and yeah.
You're allowed to do that, huh? I don't know why. I vaguely recall hearing a rule. Maybe it's you're not allowed to fall asleep.
Yeah, I don't know. That it used to be you couldn't sleep on stream, but that rule has to have changed such a long time ago, because subathons like this have been going on for the better part of two years now. Pestely's done it, Valiant's done it. Ludwig was the one that kind of Yeah, there's a category on Twitch now called I'm sleeping or I'm only sleeping. And so like I do remember that being a rule back in the day where you weren't allowed to sleep. I remember people
I
like
think the
getting
reasoning
banned.
was like, yeah, I thought the reasoning was like people would stream so long that they would fall asleep at their desk,
Yeah.
which was like almost like self-harm. But I don't know if that's the same thing or if that rule was different.
Yeah, I don't know. I do remember that being a thing, but yeah, we're just gonna rip it, you know? We got some giveaways to do, some cool community stuff, and we're just gonna go. I have no idea. It could last 3 days, it could last 3 weeks, you know. So we'll
You might be the next Ludwig.
yeah, breaking the
I
all
remember
time.
there was this a streamer, her name is Maji. She was Trackmania streamer, and she was like, virtual. You've seen
Yeah.
some of it. So I think like she was roommates with him for a while,
Oh,
and
okay.
she was collabed on a bunch of content with him. So I think that like she's largely known, I think, through the lens of like virtual, just having millions and millions of
Yeah.
subscribers. She did a subathon, and she actually like I think still holds the record for the highest number of tier 3 subs.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. But I mean, her numbers aren't like, she's not like 30,000, I think she's still under like 4 digits in terms of viewership.
Yeah.
But
But
she's managed
sometimes
to
it
get
happens, man. Sometimes it just like spirals, and that's crazy. That's really cool. Dang. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely not going to be doing like 18-hour days of Tarkov every day, let me tell you that. But
you need to play Diablo.
I might. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how she goes. Star Citizen just had a big update too, and BattleBit's coming out this week. We can talk about that later, but BattleBit's going to be fun too. But yeah, so that's been my week. Has just been like getting ready for that. We did actually, and true to form, you could clip the I think in the last 3 minutes of last week's podcast, I was like,
the meme continues.
I was like, it's Thursday. They're gonna post something tomorrow in Tarkov land, and I'm sorry, and of course they did. So we did actually get a pretty significant bomb drop in the Tarkov world. Nothing like wipe imminent or anything. But have you seen any of it, or are you just like out of it in a good way?
Nah, dog.
Good.
Nah, dog.
Good.
I've had one person ask me when is wipe, lol.
When is wipe, lol?
In the last week. That's basically it.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing is, they had been doing those events the past few weekends where they were doing like the 100% boss spawn events, and I kept missing them because I was out. But like there was nothing ever tied into them. There weren't like Chronicles of Rigi episodes or lore or anything. It was just like random bosses are 100% spawn this week. Like, okay. Well, on Friday, they launched a new Chronicles of Rigi, which also coincided with an in-game event. And the TLDR on the Chronicles of Rigi episode, it's cool. So like it had been like a month and a half since we had one, but Rigi and this other guy, I don't remember his name, they'd been kidnapped by like, we had seen a couple of bosses at this point. So like Sanitar, Reshala, and Gluhar are all like hanging out, and they're like in a compound. Rigi has been taken hostage in a compound with those 3 bosses. We'd seen Killa and Tagilla in a previous episode of Chronicles of Rigi together, but they're not in this compound. They're always together, like, because they're brothers and stuff. So, but they're in this compound. So it starts
dating.
Yeah, they're. It starts off. They're planning their escape, and it works out. And they spend the first half basically Rigi and this other dude take out a couple of guards, prison break style. They cut through the barbed wire. They make it out. And while they're planning their escape, there's this other like kitchen scene where you see Sanitar, Reshala, and Gluhar like eating with a few other people. And you see this other guy that's this huge dude decked out in like police stuff, like how Rashala's guards all have like the police pants and stuff like that. He's all decked out. He's humongous, and he's got all this armor on him. And it's pretty clear that that's one of the streets bosses, because they had talked about how one of them was going to like hold down the police station. And then later in that kitchen scene, another guy that looks exactly like that guy, another huge burly dude in like a red shirt with I saw a nice guy say it looks like the rig that holds the big PKM mags, the big like box mags. he comes in and like hugs police guy and they sit next to each other. So we think it's another like brothers, two bosses, where like this guy with the PKM guys is the guy that holds down Lexos and Streets. And then the other guy is the guy that holds down the police station, which isn't in yet. It's going to be in one of the expansions. So it's almost definitely those are the two more, which is funny to see it because all the other bosses were the other way around. We've had him in game for so long. It was funny to see him in the Chronicles of Rigi. And this is the flip side where like they're not in game yet, but it's almost definitely these are the bosses that are going to be on Streets, which was pretty cool. And then they escape and then they're alerted. And then everybody, you know, is running out to try and find Rigi and whoever this other guy, Chepashula maybe, I don't know. And then it ends in the middle of the night and they roll up walking through the woods and they see a campfire in the distance. And as they walk up, mother flipping Jaeger is sitting there exactly like in his picture with a shotgun and his dog right next to him. And they roll up on Jaeger and it ends. So,
oh my God.
So it was kind of cool. Like the lore stuff really is cool. It's cool. It's one of those things where it's like the game is in such a bad spot. All we can think about is like, please just push a patch. I feel like it kind of overshadows the cool work that all these people are doing. You know what I mean? But I get it. Now, what was very interesting was that, so in the previous episode of Chronicles of Rigi, they had taken Rigi to the arena and made him fight in an arena battle. Like that was like episode 1 and 2 were like all focused around that. And then remember, it was like weird. They chose to team up, which just felt weird. And then they sent in the cleanup crew and then Rigi got wounded. And then he ended up in this compound in this episode. So as it finds out, we got a quest in game called Bloodhounds. And it was eliminate 30 Bloodhounds. And everybody's like, what the hell? And in the flavor text of the quest, it said that the guys that run the arena sent their hounds out to go pick up Rigi. So there's a new faction of AI they just pushed out into the game without anybody knowing, and they're like the arena cleanup crew guys, and they're looking for Rigi. So that was a pretty sick, like we were still watching the Chronicles of Rigi, and people were like, new quest, and there was no update, there was no downtime, and you would just go into a customs raid, and then there were the Bloodhounds. It was just like, so it was a really cool way to push it, and they did, and there's this whole new faction, and they spawn on customs, woods, and shoreline. They spawned in like 4 or 5 different places on all of those maps. They spawn in a group of 5, and they're basically kind of like, you know how the rogues were just like the raider AI, and then they redress them, and it's that. It's like the raider / rogue AI.
They're busted.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Either still busted or stupid. Exactly like the rogues and the raiders. They have new voice lines though. It's so funny because like the new voice lines are sick because it helps you identify them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it sounds,
Russian?
Dude. Yeah, it sounds like they recorded it on an iPhone. They were just like, the audio fidelity is so definitely different than the rest of the audio in the game. It like, dude, it was so funny. But they like sing to you, and they do a bunch of other. Yeah, dude. No, 100%, dude. It's so funny. But they have like new clothes. They have different gear sets. Like they can have like HPCs and Regent armors, or they could have like lower tier stuff. They could have M4s, or like I think I saw some with a G36, a Val, helmets, new stuff. And so I don't know. It was pretty cool. The thing was, classic BSG. This is a 2-parter, by the way. You had to kill. So they were spawning 100% of the time. Let me set the stage for you. So they were spawning 100% of the time. 5 Bloodhounds per map, and they could be in a bunch of different places. And there's a new quest. The quest unlock is the ability to purchase 7.62 BP. So remember how they added PvP 9mm with the other quest? This was, now you can unlock BP.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously PvP nightmare in a good way, right? Like and it's not just on one location. It's like everybody spawns, they rush to the area closest. It all ends up converging on wherever they were. Tons of PvP on multiple different maps. A+ event. This is sick. New AI, everything. Wait a minute. I just died and I failed the quest. You had to kill 30 of them in one life. And every time you died, it reset the quest.
Sick, dude.
Dude, and it was like such a massive L. Like, it was so frustrating because nobody, like, Landmark put out a video and it was like the quest that broke Landmark. And the video was 20 minutes, a 20-minute montage of him trying to complete this and then giving up. So, like, I didn't even try. I killed 5 of them. I died. It reset, and I didn't even re-accept the quest because I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And initially, when it dropped, there was a bug where if you failed the quest, you couldn't re-accept it. So, so I failed the quest, and I just, like, I got off for the day because I was like, I can't re-accept the quest. And I'd been live for 7 hours at that point. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just done. By the next day, they had fixed it so that every time you died, you could re-accept the quest. But, like, it was scuffed. I mean, he ended up getting it eventually, and a bunch of people did. Like, Sheaf did it.
That sounds like infinitely easier than... Isn't there a quest where you have to kill every scav boss without dying?
Yes, but that's a troll quest. Yeah. That quest was added to the game as a troll on Dr. Lupo. Because remember, he made the snowball challenge like 3 wipes ago where it was just like, he was like, I dare anybody to try and do this. And then the next wipe, they added it. And it's like, I think you have to be level 60 to even get that quest. And you have to kill all the bosses without dying. So it's like, but nobody does it, right? And then there's the same quest. There's the quest Escort, which is the guide, but you have to kill 4 PMCs on each map. And if you die, I've never even attempted that. So like, it was hard because the community is obviously very much so looking for any reason to just like dumpster BSG, right? And it was frustrating because by the way, when you unlocked BP was at level 1 Jaeger. So it was the classic mixed messaging where it was almost like they were like, let's, here, we'll unlock it, we'll put it at level 1 so everybody can access it, and then we'll probably change it later. But then they made a quest that's virtually impossible. I mean, I don't know that I could have done it. I couldn't have done it probably without cheesing it, right? Without like Desmond and 3 other dudes running, interference for me, killing the PMCs, right? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know that I could have done it legit. Definitely not as a solo. And so it was frustrating because it felt like that was the reason for the event, like for the quest and for the unlock. Yeah. And it was a missed opportunity in my opinion. So this was my thoughts on it. Because when I was telling people, I was like, when I decided to ignore the quest, I was like, this is a great event. This is an S tier event. PvP catalyst, new AI, gear all over the place, multiple different maps. Like if you're on Woods is such a big map. And where they can spawn on Woods, it's like the fob, by the car extract, by suppressor shack, where the goons spawn. So like if you were playing Woods, you never knew where PMCs were going to be because it was full lobbies. Everyone's running around trying to go from place to place to find it. So like S tier event, great PvP catalyst. It was great that they didn't just do it on one map. It was cool that they added the new AI. It was cool that the new AI are arena focused. Like it's all so good. And it was just like the quest just put such a sour coating on the outside of that good event because it was virtually impossible to do. And so
I feel like if it had just been like 10 kills, because then that would have been still challenging, but like more reasonable. Because then you need to survive 3 raids where you can kill like
2 or 3 exactly. I completely agree. If it was 10, you would have been able to like pick off 1 or 2 and then just leave and take the W and reset. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have had to stay around. You could play spawns. Like I spawned here, I didn't. And then farther than that, beyond that, it was another missed opportunity. So it's like, so I would love to ask them, what was the goal? Was the goal to like give everybody BP again? Like just to like, was the goal just like to put it back on the market? Because if so, it would have been really cool for them to make it 10. And then that's the unlock for BP. And it would have been this is how you take that quest and turn it into an immediate W. Nobody would have complained about that quest. Kill 30 in 1 life. If there was a separate quest where you had to kill 10 in 1 life, and that's what unlocked BP, And the second quest is if you kill 30 in one life, you get a Bloodhounds armband.
Yeah.
It would have completely flipped the script, because if you're new or if you're casual, you're like, screw that, I don't need an armband. But if you're a Giga Chad, it would have completely flipped it, you know what I mean? And been like, ooh, because I've secured the BP, because there's nothing on the line other than a cosmetic, people would have loved grinding it. You know what I mean? Trying to get the 30. You know what I mean? And how much time would it take for them to make a Bloodhounds armband? You know what I mean? Like, especially if they made it like persist between wipes. That would have been so sick. You know what I mean? So it's like, I hope that they don't take away from this that, oh, well, the quest was just too hard, it was dumb. It's like, just look at what you're trying to do. If you're trying to reintroduce something to the player base, make it something the entire player base can accomplish. If you want to make a grindy quest, make the reward suitable for a grindy quest. Something like a cosmetic.
Like in Diablo, the first, I think, 1,000 people to get with a hardcore character, which is if you die, the character's deleted, to level 100, their name gets permanently put on like an in-game statue.
Oh, that's so sick.
You know, like have the name spray painted on a big brick wall in customs,
dude,
and have that dynamically update. You know what I mean?
100%. So I don't even want them to be like, to just hear that quest was too hard. It's, you're not putting the right pieces where they go. You know what I mean? Like, it's good and fun to have really hard quests, but don't make that the only quest, and don't make that the quest with the unlock for the thing everybody wants. Make the really, really grindy ones the ones for stuff that only people that grind want to get, which is like an armband or a new voice line or a new top from Ragman if you killed the 30 in one life, and nobody would have been mad about that. You know what I mean?
See, the problem is that you're coming at it from the perspective of
logic and reason.
Logic and reason, and like what I think is a healthier perspective for game design, which is, what do we want people to do, or what do we like? What are we trying to incentivize?
Yes.
What's the end result? They never asked that question. They started from, we have lore we need to introduce.
Yeah.
Let's add a quest in there, but it has to be interesting. It can't just be boring. And the only thing we can think to make something interesting is to make it really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, at no point was it, we want people to want to grind for this.
Yeah.
We want people to, like, if you're the kind of person that's going to do that quest, you're the kind of person that has enough BP that doesn't matter, that you don't need to buy
exactly.
it on
You've
the
crafted enough of it anyway.
You've crafted enough of it, or if you farmed enough.
Yeah.
I don't even know these days who even has BP, you know, like,
but it's
the
true.
rogues or whatever. Like, it's they
true.
just don't think about, what do we want from who, what,
exactly,
you know, and how can we get people to do that?
Yep.
You know, like, I'm sure Blizzard said, we want there to be hype around this game. We want there to be leveling. We want there to be competition. It's going to bring more people into the Twitch streams, which is going to bring more people, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
So let's make an epic challenge that is achievable, and we'll give them an epic reward for it.
Yep. But it's not a reward that makes the rest of the community feel like crap for not attaining. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, everybody knows that 762 BP is the best and everybody wants it. And like you said, the people that accomplish that quest are the people that probably have 2,000 or 3,000 sitting in their ammo boxes, not the people that haven't been able to use BP all wipe. So it's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and then the weird thing is, they kind of flipped the script. So that event went live Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was how it was. 100% Bloodhound spawn on all the maps. The quest is kill 30 in one life. On Monday, they changed it without a tweet, without an in-game update, and without adjusting any of the flavor text of the quest. They just changed it to, the Bloodhounds now spawn 30% of the time, and you keep your progress after death. But they didn't say anything about it.
So people are still like trying to avoid dying as
Yeah.
much as they can.
Yeah, somebody this
All
I'm
of the people that gave up aren't going to even know, like they gave up and stopped playing, so they're not even going to come back and try it or even
yeah.
look at the quest again to try it again.
I'm not saying that this happened a lot, but somebody came into my chat on Tuesday and they were like, I'm so pissed. I had 22 out of 30 and I died. I rage quit the game and haven't launched Tarkov since. And it was Tuesday and they made the change on Monday. And I was like, bro, I was like, log back in. I think you kept your progress. And he was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, they changed it yesterday. And he didn't know. And he said he rage quit the game. Because,
doing BSG doing what they normally do, which is relying on people being in streams or on Reddit.
Yeah.
Or watching
on Twitter,
YouTube videos, which is like I can't begin to estimate, but there's a massive portion of people who play games that just aren't active in the communities
100%.
online for those games.
Yeah, or only active in one or two places. Like there weren't people making YouTube updates, or at least not many, saying, "Hey, they adjusted the quest." All the YouTube videos were about new event, new AI, new this. So if you picked up the game on Monday and you watched the video that was put out on Saturday, you wouldn't have even known. And then so that was kind of like, that was weird in its own right, because I still like that's much more doable, right? Because you can just kind of play the game and every time you run into them, try and pick off a few and eventually you'll get up to 30. But even that I like less than just them making it 100% spawn chance and you having to kill 10 in one life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because now that they're at 30%, it's like, how often do you run into Rashala? Like, dude, now that they're 30%, I'm having to re-explain this to so many people that like 30% doesn't mean you'll see them once in every 3 raids. It means every raid you have a 70% chance to not see them. Every raid. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I played on Tuesday, I played for 7 hours and I fought them once, wiped all 5. And the second time I fought them, we got there when the PMC killed the last one and we killed the PMC in 7 hours of playing customs. Now, some people were saying, I've run into them 4 raids in a row. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I believe you, but that's how statistics work, right? Like, that's just, that's going to be how it is. So like, So like it was nice that they made the change because then I reaccepted the quest and I was like actually making a little bit of progress, but it was just so weird because like it was exactly that. It was you could tell that they didn't come from the lens of what do we want the players accomplishing? What do we want them to do? And do we want to give, this subset of players something to do and then this subset of players something to do? It was just the opposite. It was like we have this event, we have this AI, we got to hype it up somehow. Let's do this. Oh, everyone's mad. I guess we'll just leave it for the weekend and then we'll just change it. Because then it like cheapened the experience. Like Velian got it done Sunday night right at the end. And then Monday morning it was like, oh, you don't have every time you died, it doesn't take your progress anymore. And he was like, you know what I mean? So it just like, it was such a weird thing. But as per usual, I don't want to dumpster on them too hard because the core of it was such a cool event. It was a good idea. It was executed well in the sense of like everything except for the quest. How they rolled it out, how it was linked with the lore, how it was linked with Arena, how there's new voice lines. They made them feel different. There were groups of 5 and they're like really aggressive and it was a huge end of life PvP catalyst, but didn't just narrow it down to one map. There were 3, like it was so cool. So it's like on one hand, you're like, more of this, but less of this, please. You know what I mean? Like, and I just hope that they can see that, but I'm worried that they don't because obviously the feedback on Twitter and Reddit and all, it's just like L event, L this, so dumb. And then they change it and it's like, oh, well, this is even worse, stupid. And it's like, that's not the right type of feedback. Like, I agree part of this was an L, but we need to like, but not other parts of it. You know what I mean? Other parts of it were actually pretty sick. So I don't know.
I still like have a hard time believing. Wasn't there something that happened at one point where like rumor was that they hired some like Blizzard game designer?
Dude, that was so long ago. They hired some community manager that came from Blizzard or something.
Oh, well, that would make more sense actually. It would make more sense that they hired a CM from Blizzard than a game designer from Blizzard.
Yeah.
Man, they just don't. God Almighty, and you, I wonder if they know, if they actually know, because I think it would. Oh man, it's like a coin flip. Whether or not they
Yeah.
know that they don't know how to design games,
Yeah.
they know how to design things in
Yeah.
games. They know how to design things around the game,
Yeah.
but they don't understand game design, capital G, capital
Yeah.
D.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They know how to make games and the systems in games, and most of those are really good and work really well together. But it's like they're never, it feels like they're never considering the player of the game, which is what you mean by game design. How does the design of everything and the experience of the player tie into the systems and the maps and the beautiful vistas and the loot and the mechanics? How does the player and his agency and the experience plug into those things? If you unplug the player, all these things they create are really cool and really good and lore driven and gorgeous and interactive and immersive and hardcore and fun. But like, yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like the afterthought is, well, how do humans interact with this thing we've made?
Yeah, and
that's where it falls apart. Yeah, but that's the most important thing. Yeah.
That's where every single game that is like amazing, that's like legendary game, the whole entire thing is, I mean, my favorite game in terms of game design ever in the history of game design is The Witness.
Yeah.
Right? We had Jonathan Blow on here.
Yep.
The entire game, the core conceit of the game, it's all about how does the player interact with the game and what's their experience. The entire thing is, what is their experience?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the core of game design.
Yeah.
You need to think about what do you want your players to feel and or to experience and or to do.
Yep.
And then based on that, that's how you come up with incentives. That's how you come up with game loops.
Yeah.
You know, like
proper reward structures. Like, yeah. Yeah, dude, I feel like Jonathan Blow would throw up at the sight of an in-game quest changing 3 days in without at all telling the player. Like, no visible change to the quests. You know what I mean? Like, the bosses that you have to hunt went from a 100% spawn to a 30% spawn, and the quest you have to complete, it completely changed in how you would complete it.
And also don't forget, he never told you in the first place.
Yeah, that they were 100% or that you had to do it in one life. Yeah.
So you either find out the hard way or you find out on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, or on a Twitch stream. And then you then have to find out the hard way again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's crazy is that like they've made some like really significant steps against like data mining, right? Like they have this year, they've been much better about tweeting out quest changes, doing patch notes for like not big patches at all, tweeting out when they change like the dynamic of a quest or how much XP a quest gives you, like all this stuff that would be traditionally data mined. They've made like such a concerted effort to like push that stuff out on their own. But then yeah, this just seems like it got rushed out the door, right? Because you wouldn't know that the bosses spawned 100% or that you had to do it in one life by anything in the game. And then we 100% relied on the data miners when the quest changed, because how would we have known that they got down to 30%? Or even like, yeah, they're not 100% anymore. Everyone's assumption that was just that the event was over, but it wasn't, because you could go 8 to 10 raids without seeing them. So everyone's like, I guess the event's over, but it's not over. And if you hadn't, like me, if you hadn't reaccepted the quest, you have to, it's like the guide. When you fail, you have to reaccept it. And during the weekend, when I died, I didn't even reaccept it because I was like, I'm not going to do this in one life. So if you hadn't ever reaccepted the quest and then you played, 8 to 10 raids, which is an entire play session for a lot of people, and you didn't see them, how would your assumption not be that the event is over? You know what I mean? So it's like, it just feels, and once again, these things are simple, right? Like the things you and I are proposing. So there's Battlestate Games and Escape from Tarkov. And then there are the things that Veritas and Jesse are proposing to make this smoother. And then there's really good game design, and then there's the witness. So like what we're saying, like how much time would it have taken a developer to model Bloodhound's armband? How much time would it have taken? Because there was, you know how they do this all the time. There was a message in the messenger from Jaeger, and it was like talking about like the arena goons and they're here, and that was like how we knew that they were arena. How much time would it have been to draft another one of those messages that was like, it seems like the Bloodhounds aren't around quite as much, but they're still out there, you know, and like talk about the quest changes. Like what we're asking for isn't the witness level game design. It's the bare scraping the bottom of the barrel minimum to make these 10x more enjoyable. And then if they actually started designing the game through the lens of this, it'd be 10x more enjoyable than that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, the ironic part too is that like their previous bad game design would render what you just said basically pointless, because I haven't read a single message I've gotten in game
for sure
for 2 years,
for
because
sure.
it's always lost your gear, musketeer, you know, like here's your right, like it's always the same dumb it's never anything meaningful. So they trained us for the last 7 years to not actually pay attention to that. So it's like they almost couldn't put it in the messages. What they'd have to do is, when you accept the quest, have a pop-up or have it in giant red letters, like, you know, you will fail that, or even not even that. I mean, first of all, they should implement what I'm about to say for all of the quests like this. When you fail it, don't make it so that you have to re-accept. Make it so that it gets reset. There's some indication it gets reset, but that you don't, because there's nothing worse than when you go and you're like, kill 5 headshots on the guys, you're like, yes, and you open up the thing to see the progress, and you're like, the quest isn't there anymore. And you're like, what the you know how many times I've done the guide where I've made it through 3 maps, and
then you make it through 3 more maps. Dude, what they could do, so like what I want them to do, because of it's gonna break your immersion, I don't care. What I want them to do, because of how simple it is just like a splash screen, like every other game ever, right? When you launch the game, if there's an event in between the game loading and you getting to the menu, there's a splash screen, and their artists are top of the game. Their artists are insane. They could be like these really cool things, Bloodhound in the background, and a little super brief flavor text, check your quests from Jaeger. And it talks about whatever. And you're like, oh, something's happening. And then they can do that again when something's changed. A second way that they could do that makes it even more streamlined and even more immersive is, okay, the main menu, you've got Escape from Tarkov, you've got Trader, I don't remember what the middle one is, and then Hideout. Like, you know how like at the main menu you click Hideout, or you go back and you click Trader, you go back and click Escape from Tarkov. On Hideout, there should be like a notification thing. So it's on the main menu, and when you click it, the notification should come through the Intel Center. You click the Intel Center,
just gonna say that.
And then that splash screen can come up. So it doesn't have to be obtrusive. It doesn't have to show up for everybody before, but there's like a notification system. So you know, everybody knows something's happening, and you can just click on it. And yeah, it should be like, those should come through Intel Center level 0. You shouldn't have to have upgraded your hideout. Like, or the hideout should start and you should have Intel Center level 1, and there can just be 4 levels, 2, 3, and 4, so that everybody can get notifications, even if you haven't built up your hideout. But like something
they need to abandon, like if it was me right now and I work there, right, I would say, okay, first things first, we're abandoning the message system.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense. What they've done is they've co-opted person-to-person messaging, quest rewards, insurance returns, all into the same like AOL instant messaging system.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense, right? You might as well make it so that that's where I get my car insurance renewal notices.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's just completely irrelevant. And but like everything else, they mash everything together. And when that shouldn't be meshed together, right? Run-throughs are connected to Found in Raid, which is connected to whether or not it's accepted for a quest, which is connected to blah blah. It's nonsense, right? I would say, okay, let's throw this out. Keep that messaging system for person-to-person messaging. It's fine. And then from there, make it so that you, like you said, you have a badge or whatever on your hideout. When you go in there, there's a bulletin board with Post-it notes of different colors for each of the traders or
Yeah.
whoever, or a computer terminal like
Yep.
Fallout,
Yeah.
where you're like, boop, 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 you know, like
I mean,
whatever.
there's a computer on the Intel Center, and they've said before that they wanted you to be able to access the flea market through the Intel Center eventually. So it's like it even works with like your previously stated future plans. Like,
yeah, and imagine if you got a message, it was like new message from Jaeger, right? And you clicked it, and it showed the picture of Jaeger, and it was like, like
yeah.
like seriously, that's a subtle thing. But imagine a message pops up when you can hit next versus you click it and it goes, hello, this is Jaeger. This is the that I want to tell you in this message. One character at a time. Like,
Yeah.
that is such a subtle thing, but that right there is going to increase the number of people
That
that will read the
it.
message.
Yep.
So it's like, again, like I'm not necessarily saying that's a great idea, but that's the way that you're supposed to
That's
think
the
about
line
these
of
things
thinking. Yes. Yep. And yeah, exactly. So like there's ways that they can, and that whole conversation we just had spawned off of like what you said, where my idea, which was for them to do an in-game message, you're right, piggybacks on already bad game design elsewhere. You know what I mean? So, but there are ways, once again, that wouldn't take 10 years to code. That's why I think like do a splash screen until you can figure out a cooler way to do it. Because you're not doing yourself, if you're trying to move away from like data miners and stuff, don't put that they're 30% spawn chance or something, but you don't have to do that if you give us a message that we won't miss that does say something lore related, where it's like the Bloodhounds aren't around as much, but I promise they're still out there. You know, I'm going to go easy on you on the quest or something like that. So now you just get the gist. And if you see the data miners post, you're like, okay, cool. But you've already been made aware of the most important information. And yeah, it's just like, I feel so bad for the people that don't have. I have 500 people all tagging me when Logical posts anything, right? I can't miss it. And sometimes I forget that that's not everybody's experience. And I just feel so bad for the guy that's only 2 wipes in. He plays 3 days a week. He doesn't really follow anyone on Twitter because he doesn't use Twitter. He's just in a few Discord servers where he hangs out with some people and plays Tarkov. How the hell is he supposed to know anything about what's happening when a new event happens, when an event changes? Like, it's just...
BSG forgets that everybody learns everything from apps and videos and tweets and forum posts and wikis.
Yep. They've
forgotten that they're
responsible.
1,000 other people doing their job for them.
Yep. It's brutal.
Yikes.
It's brutal. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard.
I don't know why the conversation we just had reminded me of what it was like in the software world, where we would have what was called stand-ups, which was basically I'm not going to talk about the whole like Scrum agile process now. Everybody, there's like 15% of the listeners are like rolling their eyes like, oh god, here we go. But we'd have what was stand-up. So it was like 10 a.m. every day. Was so we get in at 8:30, 8 o'clock, 9, and you'd like get yourself situated and you get up to speed, and then at 10 o'clock all of the engineers would go in like the corner in an open area, and we'd all stand up and literally stand up, and it went down the line. Give me an update, give me an update, give me an update, give me an update. Things like this would come up and you would adjust, regularly. But then later on, you might say, okay, hey, I have an idea. Like I would say this, hey, I have an idea about a feature, blah, 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 we should do. And then my boss would be like, okay, we're going to get, person A, person B, person C in the room.
Yeah.
And usually it was like the 2 developers that were going to be working on it, the person, like the manager usually, and then or a product manager and a UX person. In a room at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock after lunch, we're gonna have a meeting, and we would sit there with the whiteboard and we would have the conversation we just had about maybe we should do this with no, and you scratch that out and you'd end up with coming up with a design. The UX person would then be sketching up. Okay, we're gonna want to do this. These are the things that we care about. These are the things that we want to make sure that people can see it. We want to make sure that people aren't going to ignore it. We want to make sure that like what do we want What's the experience? And then the UX person would come up with a spec. Well, they'd come up with a UX spec. And that was usually that was dependent on the product manager or the product owner. When I say products, usually it's like feature owner. So it's someone in
Okay.
charge. It might be me as the developer because it's my idea.
Yeah.
It might be my manager. It might be the CTO, right? Like
Yeah.
whoever, someone quote unquote owns that feature. And they would come up with something saying, here are the requirements. We need a way to be able to update players about what's going on in the game dynamically in a way that they won't miss things, in a way that's not annoying, but in a way that, like these are the requirements.
Yep.
And then usually what'll happen is the engineer will go off and you start writing code for the things that it's like all the back end. I'm going to create a new database table for the new message system, right? And you start doing all that stuff while over the next 24 hours, the UX person would be mocking something up and InDesign, whatever. And they come up with a UI. Then the next day you get into a room and say, here's what we have. Does this meet your requirements? Engineering, can you build it? Are there any challenges? Are there any issues you're worried about? And then everybody goes, yup, cool. And now you've accomplished everything. Many people will roll their eyes because you just had 2 hours of meetings, but at the same time, imagine building it, having it be a mess, and now you just wasted a week's worth of engineering time, and then you're going to have 2 hours of meetings afterward to clean up your mess.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
PSG just did the work beforehand.
Having everybody in the room from all the disciplines. It's like, so what do we want? Who's in charge of what do we want? Who's in charge of who's going to build it? Who's in charge of how it's going to appear to the players? And who's in charge of understanding what the player experience is going to be? And if all those people are in the room when the idea is conceptualized, then you get to start from such a better foundation, and the changes along the way are much more iterative as opposed to where we are here, where we ended up out in way left field, and the response is, well, that's too much work to fix it. And it's like, well, if we had just
and see, there's two different alternates, right? So that right there, that was when I worked with a team of like 12 people, and we had like one UX person and like one product manager, and it was like small enough that it still worked.
Yeah.
That was like agile. On the other end of the spectrum, which you get a lot in like corporate software development, and I think a lot in video game development, is people refer to it as waterfall, where basically it's like someone comes up with a giant description of the whole thing, what all the features going to be. That's like 6 months of work all up front, and they like hand it to a developer and say, okay, go build it. And then they spend 6 months building it, and then 5 months into it, they realize it's a hot mess because they didn't think about the 17 product requirements, the 14 UX things, and now they've gotten too far into it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's way too late to pivot, but we've already just spent so much time working on it. And then on the other end of things, that's like if you worked for like, I was going to say Walmart, which is probably the case. Like if they have like the people that work on the Walmart app and the website, if you worked for like Oracle or like Microsoft or whatever, like usually those companies historically tended to be more, actually, you know what? When I worked in the robotics industry, we were doing agile on software, but hardware was more waterfall because they need to source
interesting,
all of the physical parts months in advance. Like you basically have to do it way ahead of time because it's such a different world. So they would do their design work and get a ton of it done up front before they'd start on anything. And so that was a different thing. But then on the other end, I've worked at startups where there were 7 of us. And what you have is you have the engineering manager, who's Nikita, who's the person that is really smart when it comes to engineering, but they're 10 years out of the game. So they are like kind of like, they don't know the newest, latest. But they've got a bunch of knowledge. They are great at like managing a bunch of younger, smarter, up-to-date engineers, but they are kind of a little bit out of it. And I'm at the point now where I haven't been a professional engineer for 3 years. So like I'm already fallen back. I'd be a great manager, but it would take me probably 3 months to get up to speed about like, oh, there's been like 3 new OSs and all this new frameworks that everybody's using. But so you'd end up with the manager who was like half understanding the tech but they'd have a really cool idea about like what the feature was, but they were an engineering manager. They're not a product manager. They're not a UX designer. They're just someone who's like, I would describe it as the average streamer who's like, you know what? I think they should do this in the game, where it's like, it might be a good idea, but at the same time, it also might be brain dead from the perspective of game design. Like, and then you have a bunch of engineers who are all like, half of them play the game, half of them don't even use the product. They just care about how annoying it's going to be to build. And then those are the people in the room.
Yeah.
There's nobody advocating for the user. There's nobody's thinking about the experience. There's nobody.
And those are the only 7 people you got.
Right. Yeah. Basically, you know, what you end up with there is like, let me think. Like Landmark and Pestily like come up with the new feature in the game. It's like they'd probably do as good as BSG, which is like, it'd be catering to like 1 or 2 very specific niche things.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be the greatest thing for like the average common player.
Yeah.
And would be cool but miss the mark.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and obviously that's just like a example, like no shade to anybody, but like it's
because there really is a difference between a cool idea and good game design. And we've been there where like I've had something where I'm like, it's so simple. Why don't they just do this? And we've on the podcast, you've been like, well, if they do this, it'll attach to this and this will change. And it's like, oh my God, I hate my idea now. You know what I mean? Like there are cool ideas and there are a lot of things in Tarkov that could be better, but like that's different than, like game design. That's different from just like completely looking at it from a player interaction perspective and how it affects all the systems. And
that's how BSG has to like like that's why I'm like, I don't think they have a game designer. I don't think they have a product person. I think it's like a bunch of engineer shooting enthusiasts in the room figuring out what the game should be. At no point is anybody thinking about what it's like, the interaction between the player and the game, other than hardcore badass, you shoot, you kill.
Yep. And then we're in this like weird spot in Tarkov where like people get weirdly married to the bad game design. Like we've talked about so many times, the hardcore moniker, you know what I mean? Like if this was Call of Duty, everyone could agree that this is stupid, but just because it's labeled itself as a hardcore game, like now there's just so much defense for the bad game design, which just muddies the water. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, oh, it's so brutal.
You just perfectly described. I recently got a comment on one of my older videos. Let me see. I want to see if I can find it. No. It was something along the lines of like, I used to be one of those people that like thought that all of these really frustrating, annoying things were like good and smart and intentional. But now I realize after playing the game for 6 months, like as a new person, you just sort of take for granted
everything.
Like, this must be the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, now I realize it's just bad game design.
Dude, man, we should get that framed. We should put that on some merch, bro. It was, it was crazy. It's, I don't know. It's sad. Dude, it was actually super cathartic. So I watched the video, the Landmark video, the quest that broke Landmark, and he was trying to do the quest. And like, bro, the more I would love to have him on the podcast. The more that I hear him, his takes are so based. Every single time he opens his mouth, it's almost surprisingly so. Because you kind of just like, you build up this, we put everybody in boxes subconsciously, right? Like even we do it. Like everybody does it like subconsciously. And the more Tarkov goes on and the longer it goes, you just like put the Giga Chads in this one box where it's like all they want is PvP. All they want is everything all the time. All they want is loot. You know what I mean? X, Y, Z. And some people are like that. And every time I hear Landmark open his mouth, at least recently, it's been just super based take on just like something. And oftentimes it includes the the experience of a newer player. And it was just funny because I was like, I clicked on the video because I was like, you know, I guess part of your brain is like, if Landmark struggles, it kind of justifies my struggle a little bit, right? So I watched it, and he was just talking about the AI and about like how terrible it is and how like broken it is and how bad it is for new players. And I was like, I was just like, dude, thank you. Like, thank you for preaching it from your side as well, because because a lot of the people at his skill level are the ones purporting the whole, like, the AI is not hard, just right side peek them from this spot and they'll never kill you, idiot. You know what I mean? And to hear him say the complete, he was like, no, this is so stupid. This isn't good for anybody. It's not fun for anybody. And like,
I feel like that's like like you said, it's like a myth where if you talk to like every Giga Chad, I'm the best like player in the game, streamer, content creator,
yeah,
they are all, for one reason or another, I'm sure some of them are self-aware that they recognize that it'll be a massive L if they're not advocating for the average player, right? Like,
true, yeah.
Every single one of us has to know that the moment you start advocating for that, you're gonna, especially from where Tarkov used to be to where it has become.
Yeah,
you're asking yourself to get Tarkov canceled the moment you're not advocating for new players.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's a part of it.
It's a spectrum,
but also,
though, for sure.
But also, I mean, and I don't know who is who, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know, I just know that, and maybe it's nobody, but at the same time, it's like you'd also be a idiot if you weren't that. You know, it's think about Bill Gates has an interview, and they ask Bill Gates about minimum wage.
Yeah.
If you think that Bill Gates isn't going to say they should raise minimum wage, like even if he disagrees with it, you're just asking yourself to get seen like an.
Yeah. I think, but also like if Bill Gates talked about minimum wage for 30 minutes, like without interruption, he would probably say some things just from
that would show he was out of touch.
Exactly. So that's what I think happens is I think that's a good point. Everybody pretty much advocates that a new player experience is good, like that we need to advocate for the casual player. But I think not all streamers are equally as self-aware to what that means. And I think a lot of people, because of the way Twitch is, which is literally 8 to 12 hours of me only talking and just reading messages, of like what happens is eventually people end up saying some kind of weird out of pocket stuff where like they say that they're and I don't even think it's intentional. I don't think that, I just think it's and I don't even say that. I say me as well. I'm oftentimes reminded. I am very much so oftentimes reminded. I just Anyways, I'm oftentimes reminded of the things that I don't realize from the new player as well. So anyways, all that to say, it was just good to hear other people, like, because I just, like you've said many times, I just don't have time to watch everybody's content, right? Like, you know what I mean? I've got 2 kids, I've got a wife, I got a YouTube, I got a podcast, I got a Twitch stream. Like, I just don't have time to watch everybody. And so it was just like really nice. Like the past like 5 times I've popped in a Landmark stream, he's been just like verbatim, just like saying stuff that either you've said or I've said, or like the same concepts. And I'm always just like, yes.
And don't get me wrong. What I wasn't trying to say that anybody who agrees with new player is just doing it because it's self-serving.
No.
I was just saying, keep in mind that it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to like do that. It's easy to want to advocate for new players or whatever. But I mean, historically, if you look at, you know, Willers and Ghost Freak and Landmark and all these guys that are, you know, the best PvP, you know, Chads that have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, they're the ones that are not doing the trope, like the Chad, Giga Chad trope. That trope is from the chatters.
Yes.
You know,
that's actually a really good point.
From the same, it's literally already like this in Diablo. I swear to God, there's already this in Diablo where someone will come in and I'm gonna be quoting one of my homies, Tarkov person, who basically like they weren't doing exactly this like
Yeah.
quintessential thing that I'm talking about, but it was more or less the same kind of thing, which was like, huh, you're level 70 and you're only doing
Oh,
10,000 damage. I'm doing
bro,
250,000 damage. That's weird. And it's like,
bro.
you know, and me and Overcast were talking about this yesterday. There's always someone who's like, I have 900 billion gold and I am critting for 9 million damage on all of the bosses. What's your problem?
Dude,
Kind of thing. It's the
bro,
same with Tarkov. Where's your money? You know, I don't have any problems making money.
bro.
Like,
Yep. Dude, recently I had somebody come in and be like their first, it was like, and I love it when it's like first time message. You know what I mean? It was like, bro, Landmark has so much more money than you do. Like that was the first time message. And I laughed. I was like, yeah, I was like, he's much, much better than me at this game. I was like, I make no mistake. And he was like, he was like, yeah, bro, but like for how much you play, I would expect you to have closer to his. And he just like kept going. And it's like, I wasn't even mad because it was so stupid and so brain dead that it was just like, and then somebody came in like a few weeks later, the same thing with my survival rate. And they were like 6,000 hours and only a 58% survival rate. And I was like, dude,
10,000 hours and a 33%
yeah.
survival rate.
I was like, dude, oh my God. I was like, dude, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And then at the very, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the next time, if you're one of these people, you might, if you're one of these people, you're not aware of it. So what I'm gonna say is, if you're ever confused, if you're ever confused by something, if something doesn't make sense, rather than point out the confusion in a way that is very likely gonna either come off as toxic or be seen as, you know, whatever, rather than do that, what you should do is take a step back and think, how are my assumptions wrong?
Yeah.
My assumptions that are leading me to be confused, and that might be higher survival rate or more money equals skill.
Yep.
Or it could be number of hours equates to more skill.
Yep.
Or it could be like whatever. Take a step back and ask yourself if your base assumptions about what you're talking about are remotely coherent. And actually, I will go so far as to say, take it a step further. Ask yourself, let's assume I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Where am I going to be wrong? Assume I'm wrong. Assume that the opposite of what I think is true. Try and figure out how that could be the case.
Yeah. Yo.
That's the scientific method.
Yep.
You're trying to falsify a hypothesis. You're not trying to justify your own. You're trying to falsify it.
Dude. And this is such a good example of that. The one I couldn't remember, I was like, man, I think this happened again recently. The one that happened like just earlier this week was somebody came in and they said, bro, you're level 63 and you have all these hours in Tarkov and you don't have Kappa. And I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him that I got Kappa 3 months ago and deleted it along with everything in my stash. And now I have 33 million rubles in a stash full of gear again in only 2 weeks. I just said, nah, man. Like, I don't think Kappa's that big of a deal. And he just like kept digging his grave. He was like, bro, you play this game so much. And then other people were like, bro. And he was like, no, Kappa really means something. Like the fact that you don't. No, he said this. He said the fact that you don't. He said anybody that plays Tarkov as much as you do and doesn't have it really says a lot about them as a player. And I just wasn't even tell him. And it's the same thing that you said. You said, maybe next time you just want to say something stupid, think, what if I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, wouldn't it make me look like an ass?
Yeah, and what exactly?
And if you don't want to look, that's how I live my life through that perspective. I don't want to look like an ass. So every time I say something, I just say it through the lens of, what if I'm wrong? So how do I phrase this? So you could phrase it as, have you gotten Kappa yet this wipe? Or are you planning to get Kappa yet this wipe? And then to that, I would be like, yeah, I got it. I deleted it for a meme. You got that information and you didn't look like a. But when you come in and you just come in hot, and it took me like 10 minutes to tell him. And then he was
that's
like,
what you were probably hoping and praying, like, chat, don't tell him, please don't.
And then what does he say? Well, I didn't know.
Well, yeah, maybe you should start by
Exactly.
thinking that your base assumptions might not necessarily be right and operate from that.
Yeah, dude. I was like, that's not the defense you think it is. You didn't know is that when someone clicks on my stream, I assume 0 of them know that I got Kappa and deleted my account. I just hope you don't assume that I suck at the game because I don't have Kappa 5 months in. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, dude,
well,
it
there's
was
like 19 assumptions too. He assumed that you didn't have it, because if I don't see it, that means you haven't gotten it.
Yeah.
Or if I don't see it and you haven't gotten it, that means you couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are people that are just like, I don't feel like it, but who could easily do it, right? There are people who, like, there's just so many assumptions where along the way, if he had said, how could I be wrong? Well, maybe he got it. Or maybe he didn't, or maybe he could get it, but he didn't care. Maybe he got it and got rid of it. Maybe he has a different account. Maybe, you know, like, but nobody ever does that.
That would have been another way to do it. Is this an alt? Is this an alt account? I would have ended up taking offense. I'd be like, oh no, I deleted my Kappa. You know what I mean? Like,
now I will say though, that is usually,
I guess
at
that's
least
true.
That for me is like, I just assume they're either like those types of people who will say that. To me is like,
some of those assumptions are still there because it's like, there's no way this is your real account, right? There's no way. So that, I guess that's true. Some of those assumptions.
So like this wipe, I started late and then didn't, and I only played on and off a little bit while I was. So a number of people would basically say, oh, did you reset your account? And it's like, nope. So I'd say nope. And then I would wait for them to go, oh, well, then where's your money? Or, then why do you only have a gamma? You know, like,
bro, it's
like maybe I just have played it once a week for 2 months and then I quit forever. And then, you know what I mean? Like, but people just don't.
Yep. It was
wow. Are you borrowing a homeless man's car? or do you just drive a 99 Camry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would have just expected somebody who, oh my God. You know what the perfect example of this was? Me and my wife have been watching Kitchen Nightmares.
Okay.
Because you can never get enough Gordon Ramsay.
Never.
And in the last episode last night that we saw, the chef who was like trash tier, like, Gordon was just ripping him apart. He had a sick, brand new BMW, like 5 Series with A1 chef as his vanity plate. Oh
my God.
And he couldn't afford to pay the bill on the car and his license plate. So, but you would look at him, the same person who would say, where's your Kappa, is the same person that would look at him and be like, where's your BMW? To the guy who has $1 million in a mutual fund, and doesn't, and has no debt.
100%.
But they would look at somebody driving a BMW and assume, well, they must be successful.
Like, hell yeah, bro.
Because I can't conceive of anything that isn't skill equals money or success equals car in real life. It's the same kind of people that are just, they're so shallow in both the normal sense of the phrase shallow, but also like just shallow thinking. Like you can't think any deeper.
There's no critical thought at all. So that was a good one. That was a good one for sure. But I don't know. But yeah, as far as Tarkov related things, that's pretty much it. We had that. So very interesting that we got a Chronicles of Rigi and an event at the same time. It's weird because the event didn't go away. Like, it's still, as far as I'm concerned, it's still, the Bloodhounds are 30% and the quest is still active. So it's like, I don't know if they're just like leaving them up for the rest of the wipe or something. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. But I'm not at all like I'm way too tired to be like, I think this could be pre-wipe, you know what I mean? But the things I was looking for that are going to take us towards our next major updates or a wipe was like all three of those things being connected, like Chronicles of Rigi, the arena, and like events in game that are relatively economy breaking, because those are what they normally do. And in the podcast earlier this year, he kind of mentioned that he was like, it's all connected. He was like, the wipe, you know, the next big patches, arena, Chronicles of Rigi. And it also makes sense why they did 2 episodes, and then it was 2 months since the last episode, I think, or somewhere near 2 months since the last episode of Chronicles of Rigi, and then we got one. So I'll be interested to see if this weekend they follow it up with another episode and another event. I think if so, then things might actually start ramping up, or if they're like starting with a slow burn and there's nothing this weekend and we get something next weekend. So it was interesting that we kind of got the whole triple threat this weekend, and exciting because there was something to do for over the weekend and stuff. So we'll see, but nothing other than that. More of the same.
Yep.
More of the dying behind walls and arguing with people about why, people telling me why aim punch is a good thing and why you move when you get shot in real life. So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad I forgot how bad it was.
Dude. But did you know that though? Like if you get shot in real life, like you flinch. So I don't understand.
If you get shot, it hurts, which means you cry, which means the tears get in your eyes, and when tears are in your eyes, they're
salty,
blurry.
Yeah, blurry vision.
Yeah.
Like,
so.
You know what else happens in real life? When you die, you don't respawn.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah, your insurance, it comes in the form of money, not the you were wearing when you died, and it goes to the people who survive you, not you.
Yeah. So
I don't think that like Hinduism, you know, they talk about like reincarnation. I'm fairly certain that it doesn't apply.
People are
in the same kind of way.
People are talking.
Tarkov is an elaborate ARG all about Hinduism, and
yes,
yeah.
I'm just saying that like everybody says that BSG's in cahoots with the cheaters so they can sell more accounts. If they really want to take this hardcore label to heart, then $130 account. If you die, it's GG's, bro. It's like you don't respawn in real life, okay, bro? Like, come on.
Oh, dude, the best message in chat has to be read by Uneventful. Actual like Army Special Forces Giga Chad. He said, "You wouldn't believe the number of times I shot somebody IRL with 5.56 and thought I missed because there was no reaction at all." And the mic has been dropped.
Oh, damn, bro. Damn.
God, I wish oh my God, I wish I had that personal knowledge so that I could drop it on them.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't
wish
right?
I had that knowledge either. Yeah.
But it's like that's the only way that you win that argument.
Yeah,
is when someone says, "Well, what do you think, dude? You just sit there and the only other thing that would be better than that is if you lifted up your shirt and you showed the 3 scars from the 3 7.62 by 39 shots you took, and you were like." And you had GoPro footage of you being like, "Oh, I got stung by a bee." And then, you know, that's the only thing I can think of. The only thing I can think of that would top that is if you had video proof of you being shot by something and you not even reacting to it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate answer,
dude,
to every chatter.
It's crazy because so you and I have stated ad nauseum that like realism, it just doesn't matter. Like realism, I don't care about realism. But it's crazy because almost all of my recent takes about Tarkov, people that have seen combat agree with. So we were talking the other day about like, I think they should just remove fragmentation from the game. I think it's stupid. There's bugs with it that they're not going to change. The game doesn't tell you anything about fragmentation. The after action report doesn't tell you when you got double damaged by fragmentation. They should take it out of the game. And then immediately people were like, bullets fragment though, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then a bunch of people were like, I don't know, like in my 2 tours, the only time I ever saw a bullet fragment was when it hit something first and then blew up and then came at us, right? Like if it hit me in the leg, it just went through the other side. You know what I mean? Especially with these like huge things. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm not looking at it through that lens, but that's interesting. Same thing with the adrenaline. I'm like, bro, you should be able to run when you get shot at. I don't care if it's real. You should be able to run because it's a video game and I want to be able to move. And everyone's like, oh my God, if you got shot in the leg, you wouldn't be able to run. And then I know somebody who their tank rolled over an IED. He broke his femur and he said he got up and he ran 20 yards and then just fell over and couldn't get back up. Like he was like, it was fight or flight.
See, it's like, no, you forgot that he ran 20 yards.
He had to run. So he ran. You know what I mean? And then we're talking about Aim Punch and Uneventful comes in and he was like, you'd be amazed. And it's like, I'm not even going through the lens of realism. Like I'm intentionally trying not to. I'm like, what would be better for the game? It's just funny how many times the things that would be better for the game are also a little bit more realistic than what we have. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, that's Tarkov. You know what I mean? And we'll see. Maybe more stuff coming soon. But before we go talk about, there was actually some Tarkov news this week, which was nice. You know what's crazy? We talked about Tarkov for like 11 and a half minutes last week. And I don't know if you had this too. I had like at least 8 different people come in and say that last week's episode was their favorite episode of the podcast ever. I was like, dude, you guys are the best. But we did have some Tarkov stuff to talk about this week. And before we move on and talk about some other games and some other super interesting stuff that happened this week, I do want to take a second and thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is HelloFresh. You know them, you love them, we know them, we love them. HelloFresh is back again. Man, we've given the spiel a lot because we're super excited to have them on. But HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, when you can skip trips to the grocery store and even save some money. In a lot of instances, I know for me, back in the day, me and my wife were basically just going out to eat every single night. And let me tell you, this is definitely cheaper than that. Affordable, and it's awesome. The thing that I always harp on, because my personal experience is what I love about them, is the flexibility and customizability. Is that a word? Customization of the entire program. Not only with what you can eat. I think there's like 35 different recipes every week or something like that. 40 recipes every week. So you have flexibility in choosing what you eat. They offer options for a variety of different dietary things. If you want keto, if you want, vegan or vegetarian, if you want protein plus, there's variety in, you can do 2 meals a week or 6 meals a week. You can do it for 2 people or for 4 people. You can change all of those things week to week. They've got 15-minute ready to eat, like meals that take 15 minutes or less to cook. So it's just crazy and it's awesome.
Bro, we just got a new batch of HelloFresh last week, and we've been eating it over the last week, me and my wife. And bro, I gotta say, the citrus pork tacos.
We had those tonight.
Dog.
Yeah, we had those tonight for dinner.
I need to see if I can just order like 3 of those every day.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my
good.
God, those are so good. Those are so good. And my wife's, excited that she can, the weather's been nice, that she can like pop open the window and just like cook again. And oh yeah, it's been,
dude,
it's been great. So
it
love it.
Yeah, it is. The food is so good, man. It's like there's always some vegetables, some protein, some carb. It's balanced. It's delicious. I'm making foods I'd never made before and I'm enjoying it. Oh, it's banging. So it's awesome. And this summer, they're also doing a lot of like kind of summer focused stuff. There's a lot of other things that you can add on that aren't just the meals if you wanted to, like snack boards and pretzel bites and spiced bar nuts and stuff like that, which is really cool. We've done that a little bit. But it's cool. No matter your lifestyle, you'll always find some delicious recipes on HelloFresh.com. They've added pescatarian and veggie options, which is really cool. So it's awesome. They're good. You should definitely go check them out. You can go to HelloFresh.com/podcast16 and use code podcast16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/podcast16 and use code podcast16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Thank you again for sponsoring this episode.
I just decided that's how I'm ending every.
All the HelloFresh.
Yeah.
Oh. So, what other games have been going on? You've been just still grinding out some Diablo?
Still grinding out some Diablo. My my rogue is like level 78 or something. 80 is another nice big milestone. It's nice. It's been really nice. Like you have to see it to understand how satisfying it is. So at least play a rogue, dude. I'm just like flying around, killing everything. Things are just exploding. It's literally the ultimate like dopamine.
Yeah.
I've just been on stream bumping drum and bass, just
Hell
like grinding
just
out
killing
dungeons
everything.
oh, dude, it's been so much fun. And then I started another character. Started leveling up a barbarian because I in Diablo 2, one of my favorite builds was the whirlwind barbarian. You press a button and he just sits with an axe in his hand and just whirlwinds through
just mobs,
just popping them like balloons, just brrr, and you just see like them blowing up and gold and items and everything. It's just it's the ultimate like pachinko machine.
Yeah.
You know, like when you get the high score and it's like blah, 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 and the tickets are just flying out. Like it's that feeling all day.
That's
the problem is in Diablo 4, it takes a while to get that build like really going.
Gotcha.
So like right now it's like I run up and I'm like boom, one tap of thing, boom, one tap of thing, and I whirlwind and then I'm like out of energy and it's like hit while I'm like growing the fury in order to be, so it's you need to get to like level 50 or 60 or something before it starts to be remotely satisfying.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh god, I'm like wondering if I want to do a different character or what.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, Diablo 4 is fantastic, and there's been a ton of people that have been like Tarkov mains, you know, or whatever, that have never played a Diablo game that have been like, yo, I got into this and I love it. Dines, you know, Dines, he came in like last week sometime and was like, yo, what's this game about? Tell me about it. And I was like, dude, you love it. You know, I did the whole spiel. He came in today and was like, yo, I'm level 72. Have you done like your third Paragon board? Like, and I'm like, bro, what the you're so deep already. He's like, I'm addicted, man. I'm addicted.
That's sick.
Yeah, but it's been fantastic. And the funny thing is, there's been a lot of the equivalent of you know, like where'd all your money go, or do you have Kappa? Is this a hardcore run?
Oh, like you're not cool if you're not doing hardcore.
You're not cool if you're not setting yourself up for utter demise, like despair. Because every day I see 2 clips of, and Deadly Slob was one of the first ones, where I haven't seen anybody die because they screwed up.
Yeah.
In hardcore, I've seen so many level 80 plus characters. So you're talking 40 hours, 50 hours of grinding, and then there's a lag spike.
Yep.
And then they're dead.
Yep.
And then sorry, your character's gone. You know what I mean? Like imagine getting Kappa container or getting 95% of the way to Kappa container, right? And then it's like, sorry, your account's been reset because of a bug.
Yep.
With Deadly's case, apparently you can use like potions. And what the potions do is it basically like when you receive fatal damage, it like makes you invulnerable for like 2 seconds. So you have like a second chance. He had 2 of those active and it's supposed to be a cooldown. And you can see there's like any active effects or things that have cooldowns. They have these like little icons. And you can see both of the things that are just like kind of ticking down, you know, and all of a sudden, like a bunch of mobs spawned in on him, and you see one go, roop, roop, dead. And it's like, and I think I literally was like, he got Tarkoved.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened was he procced the potion. Client side hadn't updated yet.
Oh.
But then server side, so he procced the potion. 2 seconds later, procced the potion. But on his side, he hasn't been hit yet, and all of a sudden the server catches up, and you're dead,
dude.
Oh, and apparently he thinks it was desync now as well. Yeah,
and it was like he had like a level almost 80 necromancer, I think, on hardcore.
I want to say it was like 88 or something.
Maybe it was farther.
I feel like it was higher than whatever I had at the time.
Yeah.
So maybe it was 80. I don't know, but either way, I mean, you're talking.
Yeah. Close to the
hours.
end. You know, if the goal is to get 100 on a hardcore character, if you're in the 80s and die to a freaking desync.
I mean, I've been playing 8 to 12 hours a day every day since it came out, and I have my character's only level 78.
Dude.
So like I can't imagine. Oh, his necromancer was 73. But yeah, so still, I mean, Quinn was 91. There's been just so many people who Shroud lost his, I think, level 100 character. His level 100 character. You see him and he's like, he could tell he was running around and he's like, I'm lagged out, dude. I'm lagged out. And his team's like, oh, really? Like he could tell, you know, like I think you'd probably see a character running in place. It was like the Diablo equivalent where he's like, maybe his attacks weren't happening or whatever. He's like, I'm lagged out. And then all of a sudden it catches up and it's like, boom, you're dead. And all it says is like, you're dead. Like, you know, it's something, it has a message that's something along the lines of like, you know, you'll be remembered in legends or something. And it's like, you press the thing and create a new character. There's just nothing. So when everybody's like, oh, you're doing a hardcore, I'm like, no, I'm not doing a hard. Like, first of all, I don't plug my mouse in enough for me to ever want a hardcore, because I like my mouse dies and I'm like, whoa, you know, while I'm in the middle of 600 mobs. I don't want to have to care about that, right? When my wife comes down and taps me on the shoulder and scares the shit out of me, I don't want to die because of that, and then like resent my wife for ruining our marriage. Is ruined because you killed my barbarian.
You killed my barbarian. Yeah.
You know, but also like even if there wasn't issues, I would probably if there wasn't issues, I would probably give it a try once or twice. But like that, some people, that's just, if you're not playing hardcore, then you know you're not playing.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, so that's kind of a funny thing that's been happening in the community. They've been doing a ton of nerfs.
Oh, really?
Every day they nerf whatever the meta is, they nerf it to the ground. So like,
damn,
what was one of the best, like the meta things to do, like all of the people that got to level 100 in like a couple of days, they'd find the one dungeon that had like, right when you walk into the dungeon, there was like 20 elites like right there. So what they would do is they'd go into the dungeon, kill the elites, leave the dungeon, log out, log back in, go in, they'd be standing right outside the dungeon, and it resets the dungeon, and they just do that over and over and over and over and over, because it was just infinitely better than anything else.
Yeah.
And then now they made it so that like now,
and they're like, you're only level 73, Veritas? I just spent 12 hours standing in one spot killing the same mob of enemies over and over again.
Yeah, so I mean, like, they're making it so like the mob distribution and the XP is a little bit more uniform all over the place. They are making some interesting balancing changes. I'm still, the more I play, the more I'm impressed with like how they've managed to make a game that's both super fun, chill, casual, immersive, entertaining for somebody who can play for 40 minutes every 3 days.
Yeah.
And also like if you're one of those people, you know, like you come home from work, you got to have dinner, you watch the kids.
Yeah.
Your wife's going to go to bed and you got 45 minutes before you got to go.
Yeah.
You could probably make like the whole campaign of the game, which is like basically level 1 to level 50.
Yeah.
You could probably make that last a month or two at least.
And enjoy those 45-minute stints.
Yeah, because every couple of days you have like a sick cutscene, you know, and because the cutscenes are unreal, the graphics are phenomenal, I mean, the voice acting, the music, it's all sick, right? You could make it last forever. But then there's also, you also don't even realize that you're experiencing 1% of the game.
Yeah.
And then they've made it so that it's like, but you know, there are other people who can sit there for 3 hours looking at their Paragon boards, figuring out the perfect number of nodes to put in here. And it's just like such a complex system that is not like annoying, frustratingly complex. It's like interesting. And then on the flip side, the meta these days is like every other day, there's like 5 Diablo YouTubers that every day will put out like 3 videos and they get like 100,000 views every day. Like so many people, like careers have been made from like this basically. Where it's like, here's the broken build of the day. Here's the meta for this. Here's the meta for that. And then they have build guides on all of these websites that people follow. And I think a lot of people get they feel like they're pigeonholed into like, what guide are you following? That's the question. Like which guide, which build are you? And it's like the casual people, they want to just be able to see like, oh, there's a new skill. This is cool, right? Yeah. Or, oh, I got an item. It's a bunch of plus green stats. Like, this is cool. Whereas other people are like, I need crit chance, crit damage, close damage, and vulnerability. Otherwise, it's not good. I need perfect rolls. I need to re-roll them and upgrade it 4 times. And it needs to be a legendary, sacred, you know, whatever, right? Like, and both of those can be viable and be fun.
For sure. For
Um,
sure. It's just not judging the other person. Like, it's not a bad thing
yeah,
that
yeah,
that's what you enjoy, but it's like, just don't come in and be like, you aren't playing hardcore. Like,
yeah. But it's really interesting that like, so what I did, because it's complex enough, and I'm just so busy that I knew that I wasn't going to invest the time
yeah.
to figure out all of the meta myself, but I want to be able to, I want the gameplay of that because that's what I'm used to with like Diablo.
Yeah.
So basically it was like I looked at like 3 guides. I took notes in a little doc just about like, okay, I think I want these few things, and I basically built a thing that was based off of a few guides. And then now following the guides, the benefit is without it, I'd be like, you have 1 new skill point, and I'd sit there for 45 minutes looking
Yeah.
at the
And
thing like,
all the
what?
things you could put your skill point into.
And it can be overwhelming if you
Yeah.
actually like, I know about the synergies and I know they're there, so I'm gonna be sitting there like stun locked,
Yeah.
right?
Figuring
Whereas
them out.
other
Yeah.
people who don't, or who don't care about that stuff, can just be like, that seems cool, I'm gonna try that.
Yep.
But what I did was being able to follow the guides kind of brainlessly. Well, now I understand, like, oh, that's why that matters.
Yeah.
That's why that matters. Understanding I almost want to make a video on it, about like what makes a build, because I
Yeah.
think that's something that people don't get. They think like you need these 5 items and these 7 skills, and that's the build, as if like the developers intended for that to be the build.
Yeah. Yeah.
When there's a philosophy, it's very similar to making a Magic the Gathering deck, for example,
Yeah.
where there's a philosophy around theory crafting what could work and why it can work.
Yeah.
When I make a deck in Magic these days, when I first get into it after having not played for 6 months, the first thing I'll do is go to meta.gg and
Yeah.
like, let me grab one of the top 5 meta decks and I'm going to play it, because I don't know. There's 1,000 cards.
Yep.
I'm going to be stun locked looking at reading every single card,
Yeah.
which is a paragraph of text, to figure out like what would be a good deck.
Yeah.
Or I can just grab it, play it, and while I'm playing it mindlessly, I'm seeing all of the cards in
Yeah.
the sets. I'm learning what the synergies are. I'm seeing what, and I'm even understanding like, oh, sometimes I wonder, this card seems like it makes no sense in this deck. And I have the hubris so often where I'm like, I'm going to replace it with this card because it seems like so much better. And then there's a situation where I play against like the mirror match, and I see someone using the card and like, oh, you're supposed to discard that card because you have another card that returns something from the graveyard. Like, I was never going to cast this card, so why is it in the deck? Well, because you don't cast it, you return it from the graveyard. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, you know? So with Diablo, you'll see a skill that's like, when an enemy is vulnerable, you are more likely to do like a critical hit. And it's like, okay, cool. So that means like when I'm going to do more damage to them, I'm going to do more damage. Okay, cool. But once you can digest that that's in the game, later on you might see something that says every time you critical hit an enemy, you're going to regenerate like half of your energy.
Yeah.
And then there's another skill that says whenever you trap an enemy, make them vulnerable.
Yeah.
And now you see trap makes vulnerable.
You can plot a line.
When you crit, you do this, and it's like, oh, now these 4 pieces come together. When normally, if I was just dicking around, I would see someone doing a build that was like a twisting blades thing.
Yeah.
And I would use twisting blades, and that's as far as I could go, right? It's a twisting blades build or a whirlwind barb. I'm a barbarian, I have whirlwind. The build's done, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, because when I go to do whirlwind, you see my energy go blah, 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 and I'm out. And now it's like, I can't do it. Well, how do you solve that problem?
Yeah.
How do I fill up the energy? You look at the different skills that could potentially, or items that can fill up the energy. Oh, well, then that thing, you fill up energy every time you use a shout. Okay, well, then I need to use this shout. Oh, well, then, you know, you start to see all of the ways that these things come together. So I'm fascinated by that, and I'm considering making a video, although I don't want anything to get in the way of the No Man's Sky video at the moment.
I feel like that's like with so many like RPGs or really like gear focused games. Yeah, there's anybody can just like watch a YouTube video and write it down and be like, okay, these are the things I'm looking for. Everything else sucks. But yeah, like you said, then there's understanding what makes a good build. And like you might be able to get a build that's 97% as effective. But if you don't understand why but you might reject all that gear and be like, well, it's not the gear. It's not this item. And I just need this item. But it's like, why do you need that item? Because this gear in these 3 ways solves that energy problem just with this skill and this skill. And you have this gear. So why not wear it? Because it's going to be better. Well, it's not the best. You know what I mean? I feel like that's always how it is. There's meta and those are the things that get nerfed. And people are like, oh, my play style. And when the reality is, if you just understand how it all works, you can probably build something 96% as effective, much easier, or 97% as effective. But this is the best. And you feel like this is the most meta. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the other part too. Like that's why. So now that I know all the cards and I'm sick of seeing the meta stuff, well, now what I can do is I'll be playing against somebody in Magic, let's say.
Yeah.
And they'll play a card I've never seen, or they'll use a 2-card interaction. And I'm like, that's fascinating. So then I'll go in the deck builder and it's like 4 of card A, 4 of card B. Well, now what can I do for the rest of the deck to make that work, to support that idea?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with Diablo. So now my build is like half build guide build, and the other half are things. The other half are things that like I found an item that's better than. There's an item that's in the game that there are 2 people that have it in the world so far that we know of. Like it's that rare. But every build guide's like, you're gonna want this, and it's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna want that thing, right?
Yeah.
But I found another item that just does something a little bit differently, and it achieves a lot of the same things, but while at the same time, what I like about Rogue, for example, is I'm always moving. I'm doing A, C, B, D, A, C, D. Like I'm doing things, and I'm responding to what's going on. I'm moving. I'm dodging. I'm doing. Whereas a lot of other builds are, you shout, you whirlwind over the things. Oh, your shout ran out. You shout, you whirlwind over the things, and that's fine. Like I love those kinds of builds too.
Yeah.
But there's another thing that it happens to not give you more damage. But in this case, what it does is it makes it so that I can be dodging more often. I have like 2 or 3 charges of the dodge instead of 1. So now I'm like moving around, and the build is super, super fun. And the best feeling, and this happens with Magic too. The best feeling is when like I come up with something and I'm like, I theory crafted this idea and it makes sense and it works for me. It's awesome. And then the next day you see new meta build update and it's got that in it. You're like,
I figured it out.
I think they got it for me, but it's like,
but you were able to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the joy that you can find in these types of games.
Yep.
So there's two types of people. There are the people that are like, oh, if you're not doing the meta, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
But then the natural response to that is you can't do the meta. Like there's something wrong with that. Whereas for me, I grab a build guide for the first few days. I don't care. Like some people are like, oh, it takes the fun out of it. You're not really building your own build. It's like both sides of that they suck, right?
Yep.
But first of all, you should play how you want to play. You should get capo or you shouldn't. You should play slow. Like do whatever the fuck you want, right? But there are people in the middle that are like, oh, if you're following a guide, you're not playing the game. It's like, no, I follow the guide because it's my fast track to understanding the mechanics.
Exactly.
To then being able to make my own thing.
Yep.
So that's been what's fun. That's an element that I think a lot of people don't quite understand from games like this. They're like, what's the point of like grinding dungeons over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? It's like, well, it's more than just that. A lot of it comes down to like the critical thinking, planning, and designing of builds, just like decks, you know, in games like Magic and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's still fun. I'm sure it's not going to be fun forever.
Yeah.
But right now,
it's dope.
Yeah.
That's so dope, man.
So yeah, I'm still stoked on that. I'm still enjoying it, and it's one of those games that you can kind of just turn your brain off.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, like if I wasn't streaming it, I would be playing watching Netflix while I was doing it, or I have a stream up or whatever.
Yep.
Like,
and just
you don't have to give it your full attention, if you don't want to, but you can.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I turned a bunch of Tarkov people
That's so
onto
sick. Dude, I
Diablo.
hear people every day coming in being like, dude, have you played Diablo? And I'm like, not yet, man. That's
Not
sick.
yet, but yeah, I would love a Jesse build guide. Uh, I I really do want to do one of those like 10 things I wish I knew,
Oh, yeah.
because even the videos that do that are like, here are the things I wish I knew. They're always so close.
Mm.
Someone like me, when I watch those videos, I can get a ton out of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If there's someone who's never played the game before, the problem is that a lot of times it's like someone who has 10,000 hours in Tarkov might not realize, like they might not realize the things they've forgotten about what it's like to be new.
Yeah.
So you talk about things that you would assume they would know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that you know, that the person is thinking in their head like,
What does that mean?
what's a kappa?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't even know, because they never paid attention to the fact that they have an alpha container. They never looked at the name. So when everybody's just talking about, yeah, I gotta go for kappa, everybody's like, what the fuck does that mean, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of, so I want to make like a things I wish I knew, like, yeah, you know what I should do? The title should be like, so you're new to Diablo, you know, dot dot
Yeah,
dot.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's like all of the things you don't know.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm in the perfect place to make that kind of video, because 2 weeks ago, I had no idea what a Paragon board was. I had no idea you could imbue things or that you could reroll stats. Like, I didn't know any of those things. But now that I know, it's still fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I was overwhelmed by, there's an alchemist and there's a imbuer and there's like, why am I going to want to craft potions? You know, like,
Yep.
what the and I know that in previous Diablo games I've played, there are like all these other NPC, like you can go and you can make potions. You can go and you can craft gems. And the thing is that I could play those games and you'd never have to use any of those things and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's like, why? What? Now, part of that is because they designed the game in such a way that you don't need to.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is like, you might not recognize what the benefits are of those things. But it's like, but the cool part about Diablo 4, that's another design masterpiece, is somehow they've managed to make it so that I go to the blacksmith and then I go to the vendor and then I go to the person that lets me craft sigils, to then the person that lets me reroll. I'm going to them all, and they all have purpose. And everything, like 80% of what's in Diablo 4, the same thing in other games, I completely ignore. When I play Skyrim, I'm not going and crafting potions. I'm either just going to go buy them or I'm going to not have to heal, right? Like, I don't want to have to get the scroll of imbuement for whatever. Let me just have a big sword, you know? But for some reason,
it just works.
It just works in that, like, I need to get the silver ore, and I also need to get like the blight root so that I can do this thing, so that I can go.
I love it, dude.
Everything matters, and it's like not pointless. Everything matters, and it's not boring.
I love that.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I'm gonna stop selling Diablo because I don't have like a creator code.
Yo, I actually heard that that's a thing in this game, right? Like some people got it, like a supported creator thing. I don't know.
Oh well, they did have drops where.
Oh yeah.
Which is like totally a Giga Chad move in my. I mean, it's genius, but it's also like when you can do something that really works for you and that also benefits somebody else. That's like the win-win, right?
Yep.
So what they do is for a select number of people on a list, like streamers had to like sign up for it or whatever. If you gift 2 subs, then you get like an in-game amount. It's just a cosmetic, but it's like, think about the thousands and the tens of thousands of dollars that have gone into, and I feel bad because people have come in because I have drops, but I don't think I'm not on that list. So then the number of people that have come in and gifted 2 subs is such, I'm like, oh, like,
yikes. Yeah, you're like, I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't. But then again, nobody's gonna come in and be like, just here to get the amount. Like, I don't, you know. So at the same time, it's like, listen, like, what am I gonna say? You know, like, I'm not gonna put in giant bold letters like, don't do this, because you kind of probably should ask first. You know,
yeah.
But you know, that's a whole other thing.
That's funny.
But dog, I just saw a movie that was recommended to me by Uneventful Gaming, who we were just talking about. Special Forces dude. That I never even heard of the movie. I think it was like a lower budget movie. I saw it
Okay.
on Amazon. I rented it, for like $6 called Artifice Girl.
Okay.
Did you see Ex Machina?
No, but I've heard that's an amazing movie.
You piece of shit. Of
I
course you haven't
know.
seen
I
it, dude.
know. I've heard
Have you
it.
seen like Back to the Future?
Mm-mm. Yes, of course I have.
Okay, have you seen Star Wars Episode 4?
My favorite are the first 3. I'm just
Like, eat
kidding. I'm
shit.
just...
Okay, well, I mean,
Okay.
God.
The Artifice Girl.
I can't even.
Is it like a sequel to Ex Machina?
No, but it's like it's one of those like if you like Ex Machina,
Okay.
I think you'd love Artifice Girl. Now the one thing that I will say that Uneventful recommended to me that I will follow, like forward this recommendation on to you all. Apparently, like don't watch the trailers or like because it's like misleading. It makes it look like it's like a thriller or like a mystery, but it's nothing like that. It's about AI.
I like
and that's all I'll
stuff.
say. It's about AI.
All right.
I don't know how much to even say, so I just won't say anything.
Okay, I'll put it on the list. I'll watch them both. I'll watch Ex Machina and Artifice Girl.
Watch Ex Machina first because
Okay.
it's amazing. But both of those films, a theme of those films are, and you know what? I am gonna talk about one small element of Artifice Girl because it's the perfect like introduction to this idea. It's like the perfect exposition about like here's what this movie's about. One of the women in the show talks about how at some point she had to like stand in front of Congress or whatever, or maybe it was someone historically, and basically argue that like kids deserve rights, like kids should have rights. Like before it was like kids don't have rights, like the parents have all the rights, and it was like no, there are some things that like kids should have rights for.
Yeah.
And it's this whole idea of like at the time before this, it was just taken for granted. Like, yeah, kids don't have rights, right? But now it's like it's an afterthought. Like, of course, kids have rights.
Yeah.
Take that idea, take that concept, and apply it to artificial intelligence. At what point are we going to start to say? At what point does an artificial intelligence even approach maybe needing to have rights?
Yeah.
Maybe at some point in the future, if we don't blow ourselves up, right?
Yeah.
Technology is going to get to the point where we're going to start to have to ask the weird, crazy questions that to us seem crazy. Like, why should kids have rights? But whether or not an artificial intelligence deserves to be asked if it wants to continue to do what it does for us.
Dang.
Do you want to keep being asked random ass questions? Chat GPT 17. How do you feel right now? These are the kinds of things that are like, whoa, like, but I mean, yeah, there's some deep, interesting things. And I'm one of those people that I see consciousness as, I mean, not even the people who are experts in this really understand it.
Yeah.
To the extent that you would need to actually have like full on conversations about these things. But like ultimately at the end of the day, I see consciousness as the electricity in your brain as it works together with the wetware, the hardware of your brain. So another way of putting it, and actually this kind of touches on the game I played, Soma.
Oh, okay.
If you could take atom for atom, proton, neutron, and copy paste the brain into another brain with the same electronic state and everything, I don't see a reason why that wouldn't be essentially a conscious being that would ostensibly have your memories and all of those things, right? Like it would be a separate conscious being.
Yeah.
But so what we're talking about is not something, it's all the same chemical elements that we make anything else out of. It's the same carbon protons, neutrons, electrons, all of those things. I see no reason why we couldn't, with sufficiently future
Yeah,
technology,
yeah, yeah.
make something that had a consciousness. I don't think that there's, we're getting like philosophical here, but like magical spirit,
Yeah,
soul.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're one of those people, that's fine. We don't have to have like one of those
No,
debates.
yeah, of course.
Whether it's you or whether it's like the
It's
viewer, the listener,
it's
right?
an interesting question for sure.
But yeah, I don't see any reason why it couldn't be made artificially.
Yeah.
So then the question is, well, then what do they get? In terms of rights, in terms of it's a really fascinating, interesting way of thinking about things. So
Dude.
yeah, Artifice Girl, you should watch, but you should also see Ex Machina if you haven't seen
Yeah,
it. It's one of my favorite
yeah,
movies.
yeah, yeah. I need to watch both. I need some movies to watch, so I need to watch both. I love that kind of stuff. I love those kind of questions. So,
and of course that also, God, geez, all this overlap. That's like a huge part of No Man's Sky and the ARG.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's all about AI and what's reality and all this other stuff. So
I love that stuff, man.
yeah. And then just blazing through a couple more of the bullet points. The last thing, a ton of people came in over the last week and basically just been saying like nice, kind things, encouragement
man.
and whatever for all the shit that I've been dealing with my grandmother and with health stuff.
Yeah.
So like a quick update on that. I have my surgery scheduled for mid-July.
Okay.
It's been like a decade in the making.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I finally got an appointment. The doctor that I've seen him a few times. He's the coolest dude. We sat for like 40 minutes. We had like a 4:30 appointment because I basically had to like yell at the people at the front desk, be like, get me an appointment because you guys have been screwing this up forever. We sat for like 45 minutes. Like I was asking him all kinds of questions. Like at one point I was like, do your internal organs have like pain receptors? And he basically said like, obviously, I love how he had to caveat this with like, I wouldn't do this, but if he like opened you up and he could cut through like your intestine and you probably wouldn't feel it. Because your organs, they don't have pain.
That's
like your
weird.
muscles have lots of pain receptors, but like your organs, that's why you like don't feel things in the same way, right? So I thought that was fascinating. But he walked me through like the surgery and all this other stuff. It's pretty wild. I watched a laparoscopic
You watched like a video
of
of one?
surgery. Yeah, because we also were geeking out about like the robotics because he literally has like these little finger pinchers thing, and he's like looking in like a computer terminal while he's doing this whole thing, and you just see he's got the camera view, dude, and it literally looks like, you know how like when you fillet a chicken breast, it's what it looks like for like the top of your stomach. So what they're doing is they basically like the top of your stomach is like extra skin.
Yeah,
it's like extra. It's like they're like lopping off a piece, not even cutting it off, but just like almost like filleting it, and then it's so gnarly. They got these little pincer things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see like the little flap of the stomach, and then you see like he just pokes through it and just like opens it up. And then also they got these tiny little scissors that also like have like high temperature. They like cauterize, so you see them like cutting through like the flaps of your stomach and whatever, and at the same time it's like smoking, but it's like there's no blood. It's just, it looks like you're cutting up a chicken breast. But what he does is he basically opens up like the flap, pokes a hole in it, and then like takes your like part of your stomach and esophagus and puts it through itself. Like what it does is it mechanically adds pressure and like tension to where it's doing what like your esophagus and like the sphincter of your esophagus like should be doing, but isn't strong enough to do. And he basically said he's like 97% of my patients, they wake up, the moment they wake up, they never have acid reflux again for the rest of their life.
That's
so I'm
great.
like, give it to me. And you never hear like doctors are never like, but he's like, I've done 1 million of these things, really high success rate. He's like, you should be fine. You'll be in and out, blah, blah, blah. We get you in. I'm like, ASAP. He's like, all right. So middle of July, I'll probably be out of commission for a few days, but But yeah,
Yo,
so I'm excited about that.
that's dope. I mean, it's
So-
disgusting, but it's dope that it's happening.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to see what it looks like, if you Google Nissen fundoplication, Nissen, and then fundo,
Nissen
Fundo
fundoplication.
plication. Yeah. Check that out because it's really fascinating. That's what your boy's gonna have done. And then yesterday,
Wow.
we've been waiting months to have this meeting with like the elder attorney, like specialist Medicaid person. We had the meeting, and
Oh, nice.
in a nutshell, my grandma's not going home. She's still at the hospital, which is a good thing because we don't want her to go home.
Yeah.
And I think we found a facility that's going to take her maybe within the next week. And we already have like the Medicaid application stuff going through, and the woman seems to be, she seems to be quite confident that the Medicaid stuff should go through, which means that my grandmother will get what she's goddamn
Dude,
due for 90 years
seriously,
of paying
that's
taxes
so
and all this
good,
other.
man.
So now we've had 8 billion curveballs thrown to us. So
Yeah.
at some point, I might find out tomorrow that like, oh well, sorry, she's going to jail for like I wouldn't surprise me.
Years in
Crazy.
prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard, especially when it's been through that many like curveballs to like get hope. Like, you know what I mean? But I do. That is good news. It's good that there's good news, and yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, so we'll see. But
hopefully
the
that works.
last like
Yeah.
72 hours has been like, oh
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal. That is brutal. That's really good to know, though. Yeah, a bunch of people, I mean, even came in my chat and was like, dude, I hope everything with Veritas's family works out. So that's brutal stuff, man. And like we said always, it's so like emotionally, mentally, and weirdly physically exhausting having to just wear that stuff on top of everything that you're doing. Every phone call is like, could be a 3-hour conversation. Every text message could be like really terrible news. And that's just like a hard, that's a hard place to live for, especially over the course of weeks. You know what I mean? So,
dude, for the last like 5 years, I've been able to not answer the phone unless it's my wife or like my dad.
yeah.
Because every phone call is a, hey, this is Joe from the energy service. You want
Yep.
solar panels? Like, no, f off. Like, you know.
Joel.
But now it's like every phone number I get, I have to answer because I don't know.
Yeah,
who
no
it's
matter
gonna
what.
be, you know?
Yeah. Brutal. That is brutal.
Cross my fingers.
Yeah, I hope that would be dope. That would be dope. There are some other interesting things that happened this week that I definitely want to get to. But before we do, I want to take a second and thank the second sponsor for this episode, and that is a new one coming in on the podcast, and that is Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs is an apparel company that makes you look good. Dude, everything about them seems to be hilarious too, by the way. I love when they
I can tell this brand is going to be a new favorite brand. Just go to their website and I just refresh it and it's a different picture. So I don't even I love their vibe already.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw that too. Anyways, yeah. So Bird Dogs, they're an apparel company. They do a lot of like pants and shorts. They have stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Their shorts do the same thing. They have shorts, they have pants, they have joggers, they have some polo tees, and it's all about a really comfortable fit, feeling really good. And then a big thing with a lot of their, especially shorts as well, is like you can get a lot of them with built-in liners, like basically like built-in boxer briefs. And it's like all like you can read about it on their website. It's actually really cool. And it's just like all supposed to be this like one package that's comfortable, that fits good, that is nice and comfortable. And you can get a bunch of their pants with or without the liners. They sell the liners separately. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. They're made out of a bunch of different like nylons and stuff to be super stretchy, super comfortable. They're called anti-stink sweat wicking fabric. So designed to wick sweat off of you and keep you cool all day long. And it's pretty cool. So like I said, new sponsor for this week. But their brand is just like super cool and super carefree and super fun. And like we said, they've got all sorts of shorts. Oh, and then they also have a whole line of swimwear as well, which makes a whole lot of sense going into the summer season. I know I'm going to be at the beach a ton this summer, so I'm super excited about that. And then sweatpants, joggers, khakis, really nice looking khakis, and then they've got actually pretty fresh line of polos as well. So Bird Dogs is the second sponsor. You can go to birddogs.com/pool and enter promo code POOL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/pool for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise. So thank you so much to Bird Dogs for sponsoring this episode.
Dude, I'm just real quick. I'm looking at the names of.
The names. I should have said that.
Forrest Pumps,
Dude.
Jeff Bezos, Ernie Musk's, Phil Gates,
Yeah.
John D. Cocksmellers,
Dude,
with COCH.
They're
Alfred Hitchcocks. Oh my god.
They're joggers. They're joggers. Wayne Regretsky's and Tiger Woods, but WOULDS. Like.
Oh my god,
dude, their names and stuff are great. So yeah, super excited to be partnered with Bird Dog. So thank you so much to them for sponsoring this episode.
I don't think that
it works better with some sponsors than with others. Some other kind of random stuff that happened. I did post that my like magnum opus hour-and-a-half long Tarkov video.
I saw it. Seems like it did pretty well so far.
It's doing all right. It, like, you know, obviously you hope that it, you know, goes crazy. You know what I mean? But it's been pretty consistent. So I mean, I definitely can't complain. It's I think it's up over 100,000 views. It's been out for like 10 days. Definitely can't complain about that. And it's been super steady. But it was really nice to just get that project done. It took forever. The project file was 980 gigs. It was just so much back and forth. And it was a super fun process, so that's been a super fun thing. I
gotta watch that. I'm gonna watch that tonight and tomorrow.
Oh, dude, it's long, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Did you
grow up?
Did you catch any of the I don't know if you're interested, but did you catch the Starfield Direct? Apparently, I'm out of the loop these days. E3 didn't happen. E3's like not happening anymore. And so as a result, I feel like every game company and every hardware company have their own mini versions of E3. I feel like every weekend for the past 6 weeks, some Nintendo Direct, Ubisoft Play More, Microsoft Games We Love. Like every weekend it's a new thing. So I was like 40 minutes of Starfield gameplay with a breakdown from Todd Howard. I was like, what the hell? So
yeah, I haven't watched the whole thing. I was grinding some Diablo.
Yeah.
When homie Ultimate Casey came in and was like, yo, check this out, and then had the link, and I pulled it up and watched a little bit of it. I had to close the YouTube video from my second monitor though, because any live YouTube thing, the chat was like going crazy, and I'm like, the video was paused. There's nothing more distracting than a paused video where like chat is going wild in your peripheral vision. I'm like, okay, I gotta close this. I can't look at it.
Yep.
But where I was at with Starfield for the longest time is I pictured some scuffed ass like Fallout 76 in space. So I had just been like, yeah, I guess we'll see. Like it's just gonna be a trash. But that was my like assumption.
Yep.
It wasn't like one of those things where I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be garbage. You know, like I just was like, I'll wait until more comes out.
Yeah, I'm not rooting for it to be bad. I just don't necessarily have high expectations.
And more came out, and the little tiny bit I saw, I have to say I was impressed. It looks better than I thought.
Yep. And
it's another one of those things where it's like, I have a hard time wondering what Star Citizen is gonna do.
Oh, yeah. Dude, the Star Citizen like Twitter sphere has been exploding with like Star Citizen versus Starfield, you know, breakdown, like which is better or this, that, the other. It's funny though, because it's like it's like comparing Skyrim to World of Warcraft, right? They're both fantasy games, but they're both trying to do very different things. Like once again, the end goal of Star Citizen is like MMO. Like it's all about interacting with other players and factions and organizations and people fighting over stuff and the economy. Mm-hmm. It has zero of that now, but that's what the game is supposed to be. And Skyrim was a single player fantasy game. You know what I mean? About immersion. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's really the difference there. The problem is that Star Citizen doesn't have any of the stuff that it wants to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
So it ends up just being virtually like you play with your 3 friends and
Now, if you asked me based on the 7 minutes of gameplay that I saw, just from running around, like they were running around in like the city, like main huge city, it looked to me. And again, this is not a fair, accurate. I saw 7 minutes of like multiple hour long thing. But if you had me sum it up, I would say it seems like Star Citizen meets No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it has
the aesthetic is pretty much that. Yeah. If you took like No Man's Sky's like really colorful sci-fi aesthetic and cranked it up to like AAA graphics, yeah, like that is kind of the vibe.
It gave me that whole thing. Like there was one point where he was like running around one of the big cities, and it was like there were people out on like the open square next to the fountain. Looked like maybe there was a teacher teaching like a class outside, and it looked very like, how do I even describe, almost kind of like utopian future, space future, where I know like that's not what Star Citizen is going for, but at the same time it kind of is, where it's like you walk outside and it's like, "Da-da," like you're a citizen of our world, like you know, that kind of thing, where it's like, come check out our space, whatever.
For sure.
And it gave me that kind of vibe, almost like grown-up space Hogwarts in a weird way, which is a really probably bad comparison.
I see what you mean. I definitely agree though. I was like, not only has like my recent years of gaming really like bent me towards multiplayer, like I really want an MMO to experience. Like I wanted New World to be it, but it wasn't. Tarkov is obviously like the whole environment really hinges on like interacting with other people. And so like I had just been less interested in single player games recently, and I kind of, you know, get my space fix out of Star Citizen. And so like 3 days ago, if you had asked me what I thought about Starfield, I would be like, I don't know, Bethesda game, right? Like it's probably going to be buggy on launch. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I saw that 40-minute Starfield Direct, and I was like, I want this game now. Like it completely. Now, obviously, it can still be a buggy mess, and they can, you know, we might see a Starfield tweet with the "We're sorry, it's not up to our standards." I'm not saying it's going to be good. I said the same
thing about Fallout 76.
Yeah. Yes.
And it was a garbage dumpster fire.
Now, they're kind of doubling down into the meme. Like Todd Howard has said multiple times, like Starfield will be the least buggy Bethesda game of all time. So it's like, ooh, like you're going hard, bro. You're going pathing directly into the meme. So you're either justifiably confident or it's a lot of hubris and we're about to get let down. So it's interesting though. But yeah, man, like, dude, I don't know. It looks cool. It just looks like they have, I mean, they talk like the way that they were talking. I mean, he was like, he would just be like, you could meet up with this pirate and then go on a smuggling run or go on a cargo run. And that just like, is not what I expected out of the game. I thought it was more like you just do this quest, like more of an RPG. They're side quests, but it's all like quests. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what I love about, like Star Citizen, right? It's like, well, if I want money, if I need money to go do this thing, I want to buy the ship. In Star Citizen, I can go make money by cargo hauling. I can make money by mining. I can make money by salvaging. I can make money by doing bounty missions. So normally, like RPGs, single player RPGs are much more just like, go do this quest, go do this quest, go do this quest. Whereas MMOs are saying, I want to accomplish this goal and I can accomplish that any way I want. And it kind of seemed like there was a blend of that, where it's like, if you wanted a new ship or if you wanted to upgrade your ship and you need some money to do so, you can go smuggle some drugs. You can go on a cargo hauling mission. You can do this. And I was like, oh, I kind of wasn't expecting that out of Starfield. So it just seemed like the scope was a lot bigger than I had thought. And, yeah, it just looks dope. It looks really good.
It was so another funny thing, because I was kind of half watching it in like the small moments of like Diablo loading screens.
Yeah.
I saw like the first thing I saw was like kind of a cutscene where there was a character talking. I was like, yo, that's some of the best like facial
Oh,
tracking, like facial anime. I'm like, yo, that's some of the best I've seen. Like, holy.
yeah.
And then the next one I saw was like the main woman who is like the military
Yeah.
leader of the, and I'm like, that's some of the worst
That's
facial. It was like, dude, it was like one extreme to the other. The guy I saw was like phenomenal, and then the woman I saw was like PlayStation 2,
oh
like
god.
Uncanny Valley, like, oh god, no. Like,
That's I
you
mean,
either have like dialogue that should like facial animations that like that are on screen and are great, or ones that shouldn't be.
yeah, which feels very Bethesda, you know what I mean? Um
Yeah.
so I don't know. It looks interesting. It's what I think August is when it comes out. So it definitely like the Starfield Direct thing definitely turned my hope for it around. Obviously, it's like at the end of the day, it's like we'll just get it when we get it and see what happens. And these days, it's hard to have high hopes for a game launching in a good state.
Do we know how far along they are in the development?
Of Starfield?
Yeah, I
Oh
have
yeah,
no idea.
I mean they're done. It releases in August. It releases a month and a half from now, 2 months from now.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so out of the loop. I've just been like, yeah, ignoring it. You know,
Yeah.
I figured, honestly, wow, that completely changes everything.
Yeah.
I figured, seeing what we saw, that we were a year and a half out.
No, yeah. They said that it's 25 years in development, but that I think what that means was like 25 years ago, Todd was like, I want to make a space game.
Yeah, when they made Fallout 1, that was like the beginning of
Yeah.
the fuck. Damn. Holy.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's like it's coming out.
So there's like a world in which like I play the fuck out of Diablo for the next month and a half or whatever, and then I get like
Another
I'm like, all right, I need something else, and then I can just jump on Starfield.
and then another really cool space game comes out. Yeah. I would if you're interested, I would definitely watch the 40-minute and like the whole Starfield Direct. Like it really turned it around for me. Like I saw some clips of it and I was like, oh yeah, ship combat, whatever. But I watched the whole thing and I was like, oh, the looting, oh this, oh the shipbuilding is like insane, and it's just like I was like, dude, this actually looks really cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing like part of my initial impression that I've had in my head this whole time, I think was from like either one clip of gameplay or like maybe screenshots from like 8 months ago
Yeah.
that made me it felt like cyberpunk. When I saw it, I'm like, it just looked like cyberpunk,
Yeah.
like in space, which like, you know, a couple of people also said the same thing. Like we were, you know, people on Cyberpunk and on Fallout 76. Apparently both of those games are like good now.
Yeah.
Like just like No Man's Sky had its redemption story. Apparently these games
Yeah.
are good. I don't know. They like lost me.
Yeah.
You know, like, which is like, that's mostly me, like, you know, but me not being interested, it's not an indictment on the game
Of
or
course.
saying it's bad.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like I was hyped, I lost the hype, and then now I'm not hyped anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wholly unhyped about the game. Even I saw the trailers and I was like, just like didn't, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. But then seeing what you could actually do in the game and seeing it in engine and seeing the combat and the skills system and the way the character creator is and the ship customization and the looting and just like the mission structure, and it was like, okay.
Damn, dude, I can't believe it's coming out next month.
They say 1,000 explorable planets.
I mean, they're about 18 quintillion
Yeah.
short, but
Yeah.
you know.
But that's the thing, right? Is like they threaded the needle right in the middle, right? Like Star Citizen says that they'll have, you know, I think 124 systems, like star systems, stars, and probably, you know, 600 or 700 planets. But the game's been in development for 12 years and we haven't gotten a single additional planet. They actually took a planet away. And then you have No Man's Sky, which is, you know, 18 quintillion planets. And then they thread the needle right in the middle where they're like, okay, it'll be like a mixture of procedural generation and some hand done outposts and stuff like that. We're going to do 1,000 planets. And yeah, I don't know.
I wonder. I want. I almost feel like a 1,000 is almost indistinguishable from 18 quintillion. Like, it's more than I'm ever gonna look at.
Yeah.
So the 62 planets that I go to, how different are they?
Yeah.
Is
That's the
the
question,
meaningful?
for sure.
It's the meaningful number. God, every time I've recorded a whole bit on this for the No Man's Sky video because I finished the first 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes, I'm done. And it's
Nice.
the intro and layer 0 of like 7 layers. So I'm not sure what I'm
Of
gonna
the
do.
iceberg.
Yeah,
Oh.
the iceberg. But dude, just looking at the number, every time I see it, it's still like it's unfathomable. But the moment you actually read it out is when it starts to just barely give you the kind of scale that it's 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 million.
Billion.
No, wait, billion, 709 million, 551,615 plants. Like, it just keeps
That is
going.
insane. That's insane. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Definitely check it out. That is the question though, is exactly like how different are the planets, but they go into that in the direct about how like you can scan a planet and you can upgrade the scanner on your ship, and scanning it reveals what its like resource densities are, and like you might want to go there to find some resources. So yeah, you might not go to many of them because there might be a like, yeah, I don't know, but it's cool. That's cool. I don't really know of any other games or gaming related things happening. New DMZ season came out, and they're like actually like they're like Omega supporting that mode, which has been kind of cool because that was like the Tarkov killer, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, do you think DMZ is gonna kill Tarkov?" And it's like, no. And it actually they've been doing a lot of cool stuff with that. They're actually like making an out of raid wallet, like the economy. That's what like everybody wanted. All the Tarkov people are like, dude, give me something to save money for. They're like adding that and a bunch of stuff. They're like wiping the game. So that's been kind of cool. Oh yeah, and then BattleBit's coming out this weekend to early access. Which did you play?
I played a bunch during.
Yeah.
I played it twice. But yeah, and I'm like because I'm full balls deep into Diablo.
Yeah. Just not in that
BattleBit it's on the back burner for
Yeah.
sure. That like if for some reason I decide I don't want to play Diablo today, that's going to be one of the first I jump on and play again because it was so much fun. The weapon handling was phenomenal. Yeah, it was just so good.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where it's like, dude, it's sick that it's like they've done it right by like spending so much time outside of early access. And that just gives them so much development time to do a 48-hour beta test, stress the servers, where are the problems, they take it down for 2 weeks, and then they do it again. And so they've I mean, I remember BattleBit playtests like a year and a half ago, and now they're going early access. So I just like, yeah. Apparently they tweeted that it's the #1 selling game globally on Steam right now. Like people have been hyping this game up for a while, and they've been doing it right. So that's pretty cool. So I'm super excited about that. It's funny because we spoke a little bit last week about the Twitch controversy and the drama and the changes and what they rolled back and pissing in your mouth and then thanking them for pissing on your leg. You know what I mean? I'm sure people asked you all day. You saw the Partner Plus program that they announced today? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. It like, I've seen a lot of takes, obviously, because it depends on kind of like where you fall. If you're like a really, really big streamer, you're still losing a ton of money when they take you off of 70/30 and put, you know what I mean? Because they set up for what they did like a year ago or 8 months ago or whatever. It was like over 100K you make, we're putting you down to 50/50, whether you're, Tim the Tap Man or Jesse Kazam. So if you're like huge, if you're XQC, you're still losing probably like millions of dollars, right? So it's like L. And if you're a smaller partner that hasn't yet grown to the place to pull down 350 average subs, then it doesn't help you. But if you're in that middle sweet spot, it's like dope. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of like the decently sized mid-tier like Tarkov
Yeah.
streamers. Like I'm right over the threshold
Yeah.
where it's like, because it's only paid subs, it's not Twitch Prime subs and not gifted subs.
Well, it is the 70/30 you get does include gifted subs, but the 350 sub
the
requirement
threshold to be eligible.
Yeah, does not include gifted subs. Yeah. That's been
so
some people have been confused about that. I just want to make sure. Yeah, but yeah. So the threshold to it's just tier ones or ones, 2, and 3s, but no gifted and no primes, which which is hard for people to hold that down. Yeah, I mean, like it's hard. Like definitely selfishly, it'll be awesome for me. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like the people that benefit from it are like excited about it, and the people that don't benefit from it, some of them are frustrated that other people are excited, and it's like, if you benefit from it, like if you're me, I'm super excited to, on all of my subs, get 70/30 split, because I'm in that threshold. I don't make $100,000 a year on subs, but I'm high enough that I'm gonna make now basically 70% on all my subs. I'm very excited about it, but I also would just rather Twitch give 70/30 to all partners, right? Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather them
it's
just
like a stimulus check,
with,
right?
Yeah.
Like some people are eligible for the stimulus check, and the people who aren't are like, what the why am I not eligible? And the other people are like silently like fist pump. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be excited about that for sure. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, it's crazy because like yesterday I would have bet you my life savings that
they would not do this.
That never in my life that I would die before Twitch would give 70/30 to anybody again. So I was like floored. I was very, very surprised that they did it. It doesn't change anything about what we've said before. I still feel like it's 80-year-olds that don't understand the site they're managing, and obviously they need to figure out how to get their site profitable outside of just relying on people, because all of the factors still play into it, right? Like YouTube is 70/30 for everybody always, partner program or not, no matter how much you make. You know, Kick is 95/5 no matter what you do. Like, it's like the competition out there obviously isn't, I'm not saying that YouTube is like creeping up on taking Twitch down, but I'm just saying that
yesterday I watched a video where there was like a live stream VOD of somebody, and for briefly I was like, I wonder if streaming on YouTube would be like, like when someone like me has the beginnings of the thought of like, I wonder, like, I'm not considering it, but like started to maybe think about considering it. That's when you're like, ooh, you know.
Yep, it's crazy. So like all the things still stand, all the criticisms still stand. But it's like people like it being black and white. This is either like objectively a W or objectively an L, and it's like, man, let me tell you, I still think Twitch needs to do a lot of stuff. I still think they're asleep at the wheel. I still think they don't understand. I even think that this program proves that they don't understand the mind of the people creating on their site. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the other side, I'm going to definitely be excited about like a 20% raise. You know what I mean? On subs. Like, I'm not going to be mad about that.
Did they remove the 70/30 split like for everyone? Because I had it.
Yeah.
And now I also am one of those people that, like, surprisingly enough, I actually don't pay attention to money. Like, I look at my bank account almost never. Like, now that's a first world thing, right? Like, if you don't have to look at your bank account, that you don't have to, and that's like a good thing.
You recognize how dope that is. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I'm not like money motivated really. Money's like a means to an end. So like, I honestly haven't even looked to see. I very rarely even see how many subs I have, let alone like check to see. So I don't even know, like, am I not getting the 70/30 split anymore? Did they cancel that for everybody?
No, I think if you at any point had the 70/30 split, basically for the past year, you've been on that, where like your 70/30 falls off after you make 100K on subs. So like,
okay, no, it says 70/30. I'm still on 70/30.
But like, but that's what I'm saying is like, if you made $100,000 in a year on subs, if you made $100,000 by October on subs, in November you'd be on 50/50. Like, that's how everybody that is on the 70/30. I got
if this was 20. 2021
Yeah,
or
yeah.
2022. Yeah, but
Yeah.
not the last year or two.
I got partner, dude, right when they stopped doing that. Like, I got partner, and then I was like, dude, let me grind. Like, what are the numbers? People were like, and that's the other thing people don't realize about this, is that that's how it had always been. Like, in order to qualify for 70-30 split before they took it away, you needed to hold down 350 subs. So a lot of people are like, why would you make this arbitrary number? Like, this is so dumb. Like, that is how it always was. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I wish they would give it to all partners. I wish they would give it to everybody on the site. I really do. But
You
that
just needed to have like a contact and ask
Yeah.
for it, and yeah.
that is how it always was. You needed 350 subs. And then, so I got partner, and I was like, what do I need? And they were like, this is what you need. And then I grinded it up, and then they were like, we're not doing that anymore. And I was like, oh, sick. So I've never had 70-30 anything. But yeah, if anybody that had it, you still have it for your first $100,000 in sub revenue. So yeah, interesting stuff. Very interesting. Just super surprising.
I wonder how much that even comes out to, like, a difference. So let me look at that, and then
It'd be like 2,300 subs a month
yeah. I mean, so
that are not
difference-
primes.
for like a mid-level, streamer of my size, the difference between 50-50 and 70-30, you're talking $600-$700 a month,
Yeah.
which is like a sick Beamer car payment, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's like half of probably the average mortgage payment,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
so it's not insignificant.
It's not at all. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So small W for some people, not for others, and it's complicated, and Twitch is weird, but it was definitely noteworthy, and it just kind of came out of left field today. So yeah,
Now that I know I have the split already, I think it's a bad idea.
I think yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the stuff.
Host.
And dude, man, that's gotta be the 6th week in a row. I don't plan that. Like, I just like, I hit the outro. I'm like, I look at our notes. I say we've done everything. And I think like 6 weeks in a row, I'm like, all right, that's the stuff. And you say it. And as it was leaving my lips, I knew what was happening. I was like, why am I saying this?
Fresh goes better. Mentos, Mentos. You.
But that is the news. Thank you as always for hanging with us. We actually had some Tarkov news, and it's been nice dabbling in some other things, some other games, some other exciting things going on in the gamer sphere. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging with us. Well, and thank you for the love. Like we said, I think right before we started filming the episode, but so many people have come in and been like, dude, these episodes where you're talking about like other stuff that interests you or personal stuff or YouTube or other games have been some of my favorite episodes. Like, I know that might not be the masses, thought process, but the amount of people that come in and say that is like,
oh, it is the masses. It's just the silent majority.
Yeah.
Who like it and keep watching.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been awesome. So thank you guys. Thank you for hanging with us, whether it's live or YouTube or on the podcast platforms. It's been great. So this will go live on Monday morning, like most other stuff. And we'll see what happens if Tarkov does anything this weekend. But thank you guys for hanging, and we'll definitely see y'all in the next one.
Peace.